Good morning, Tempo freaks and Raptor freaks and CBL freaks. Select Outs here is Friday, and I'm a freak out. I got a triple header for y'all today here. That's right. Three things we got to do. First of all, the most important thing to me, honestly, is previewing the game for the Tempo at the Montreal. Big, huge event tonight. Tempo are playing in Montreal tonight against Dallas. I've got the refs. I've got the latest lineup news. Of course, the Raptors are playing in Summer League tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern against the Boston Celtics Summer League team. I'll go over the Summer League team for both teams and just a little bit of preview for that game. But something happened yesterday, and Raptors Nation is falling out and acting all crazy and nephewyish, especially William Liu, King Nephew of Hello and Welcome, taking a live reaction stream yesterday after news broke that the trade with Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors cannot be finalized until the Aspiration scandal is tied up. So much misinformation. This story is the epitome of what's wrong with journalism and news and things at this point, because there's so much yellow journalism as far as muckraking and also just misleading people. And when you have an ill-informed, misinformed, somewhat stupid audience that doesn't interpret things correctly with critical thinking, they can jump to conclusions and get all crazy. Because yesterday, there was a lot of irresponsible journalism. Irresponsible journalism by Shams, irresponsible journalism by ESPN, irresponsible journalism by Josh Lewenberg, irresponsible journalism all over the place. And, I'm going to go in deep on this whole thing. I'm going to paint the whole picture for y'all. I'm going to answer all your questions. I did tons of research on this yesterday. You don't think this guy cares about the Raptors enough to figure out every fucking thing that happened with what's going on yesterday and tomorrow coming up with the deal hopefully being done by Tuesday? Yeah, I found out as much as I could about the subject and what is possible, and I am here to answer your questions. So if you have any questions about this whole thing that's going on right now, I'm going to clear the air. I'm going to clear the lies. I'm going to clear the muckraking. I'm going to answer your questions, and I'll give you exactly the straight goods on what's going on. But first, before we get to that freak out, and I am going to go off on certain people today. Trust me, you're going to want to see this, because I'm going to go off on certain people for the way they acted yesterday and the irresponsibility of the press. And when fans like me are more responsible with being fact finders and fact tellers and making sure that they're telling the correct story to what's going on, when I have more journalistic integrity than the journalists that are actually getting paid and in the high profile jobs, then we're in trouble in this world. I'll tell you right now, we're in trouble. So yeah, let's get right to it. I want it, ladies first. That's what I say. They're in the regular season. They're playing a big game tonight in Montreal. Let's not take the spotlight from this team right here, because this is who I want to talk about. That's who I was planning to talk about. I didn't know that there was going to be this bombshell and all this bullshit yesterday, but we will cover it. Stay tuned. First of all, let's do the latest lineup news. The Tempo do have an injury list as usual. We've had one all season. Why would we not be scot-free with no issues at all? There was a signing yesterday. Thank God. Maybe Monica is listening to me when I said, get up off your ass, Monica Wright Rogers, and do something. They signed Canadian Kayla Alexander, veteran of Team Canada, veteran of the WNBA, veteran of Syracuse University, and very, very, very happy to be coming to our team for a hardship contract due to the injury to Niara Sabally. Kayla Alexander has been out of the WNBA for a couple years, but she is still a true center. She's a true big, and we will have somebody out there to guard the paint and maybe even block some shots and stuff like that. She is overjoyed about playing for our team. She's from Milton, and she absolutely came to the first game the Tempo played as a spectator and a fan, and was quoted as saying, this is something that I was dreamed of as a kid. We never had something like this as a role model or as a thing to show goals for young girls. as far as their professional basketball aspirations. And Kayla Alexander got in her feelings, just like Savannah Hamilton, just like Kia Nurse, just like every young Canadian girl who wanted a basketball team to root for. She felt it. So she's got that pride, that Canadian pride for the Tempo, and she's coming to play as our center on a hardship contract. So Kayla Alexander, welcome to the Tempo. Thank you, Monica Wright Rogers. Yeah, you're showing signs of life, that you are still around and doing things to help this team. But let's get to the injuries. Brittany Sykes is out. Yes, we know Brittany is out. Brittany's still showing up in the fits and being on the bench, and she is participating in practice at different levels to an extent. So right now, Kiki Rice is also out. Similar story, showing up to the games, supporting the team, being a part of practices to a certain level, but not fully, but around and maybe nearing coming back. If they could both be back by the end of July, that would be fantastic. That would be absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of season still after that. And hopefully we can salvage things and try and get back to close to being in that last playoff spot. Niara Sabally is officially questionable for today. She is not totally ruled out, but she's questionable. It is a knee injury that she had in the Valkyries game. You know, she had a left knee injury, and it's not clear whether she'll be able to suit up today. So she is questionable for today, just so you know. Also, Temi is out once again, I believe. Temi will be out for sure. She actually is under, not only does she have a busted eye, she's under concussion protocol, apparently, guys. That hit from the ball actually jacked her neck back, and she's actually under concussion protocol. So she will be out tonight for sure. And she could possibly be back for New York on Sunday in the second Montreal game Sunday afternoon. So Temi Fagbenle out due to concussion protocol. So she must have really got hit by that ball, and it jacked her head back and wrenched her neck. That's crazy. That's crazy. So yeah, those are the injuries for today. We got no Brittany, no Kiki, no Temi, and probably no Niara. But Kayla Alexander has been added to the mix, and hopefully probably will be playing tonight. Dallas Wings are so blessed. They have no injuries once again. Of course, we saw Dallas on Sunday. They kicked our butt. It was a game that could have possibly been winnable if Julia Lamont had played. Maybe if we had Brittany or Kiki. Yeah, we probably could have beaten them or played much more competitive with them. So, yeah, we're going to see them again for the second time this week, this time in front of, hopefully, a crowd of 22,000 at Bell Center in Montreal. We're going for the WNBA attendance record tonight. So if you are in Montreal today and you have nothing to do tonight, go and see if there's still tickets and be a part of history. Put your money down and be a part of WNBA history and help your city get more attention for possible future franchises expanding to your city. That's what this is. This is a test game, Montreal. Don't drop the ball. You want to be in the WNBA? You want to maybe be in the NBA? Well, you got to show Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver that you're a strong, powerful economic force with supporting a team and selling out of tickets. So, yeah, 22,000. That's what we want tonight. And I hope we don't fall short. I hope that we can really do it because we need that whole place filled to beat it because the record is right around the same number, but it is slightly higher at Bell Center. So get there tonight. The whole Wings squad is healthy. Nobody is on the injury list. Paige Beckers, Jessica Shepard, Azzy Fudd, Enrique Angumbale, Wale, Alana Smith, Maggie Segrist, Awak Kuyer, Isaiah James, Odyssey Sims, Haley Jones, Shug Sutton, Alicia Clark, Lee Ururu. Yeah, they're all healthy, and they'll all be available. And I'm trying to figure out a game plan from what we saw on Sunday to try and beat them. Well, we'll do keys to the victory, the plan to the game, the victory. But I would say, first of all, you got to stop Beckers and Fudd. But obviously box out Shepard. That's the one that carries over from my Keys to the win on Sunday that did not happen. Well, take care of Shepard better. Can we see better rebounding and boxing out, how much you guys have progressed and doing better at tempo? And well, Alexander won't hurt showing up to be there as a big body and hopefully cancel out Shepard, because that's going to be a big key. The referees for today's game, Ref Report, famous signature segment on this show. Timothy Green's going to be the crew chief today, number 9. We've had Timothy once, and we were 1-0 with him. So 1-0 record with the crew chief. Second ref will be Tyler Merkovich. Used to be NBA ref, WNBA ref, Tyler Merkovich, number 27. We're 1-1 with him with 2 games so far this season. And the umpire will be Kelly Broomfield, number 25. We've had Kelly twice also, and 1-1 with her. So overall record with the refs for tonight's game for the Tempo, 3-2. 3-2. The matchup predictor for the ESPN matchup predictor for the Tempo tonight is 44%. The Tempo has a chance to win. So the Wings are favored in this game, even though we're the home team, but we are on the road. No, 45% exactly. 45.3% for the Tempo in Montreal. That is the ESPN matchup predictor. So there's my preview for Tempo versus Wings. The Wings are healthy and we have injuries. That's the basics of it right there. Refs seem all right. Tyler Merkovich is a ref that I don't mind. Don't know enough about Tim Green. We've only had him once. We did win. And Kelly Broomfield is another ref that I'm not totally that familiar with. So I'll pick up more information about both of them. But it's nice to have Merkovich. He's not a bad ref. Some people don't like him. But you know what? I see he's pretty fair mostly. All right, let's switch gears to the Raptors and talk about the Summer League game tonight at in Las Vegas. They're already in the ballroom. We've been seeing footage of the young squad practicing in the Wynn Casino Ballroom, well, it's the same room they've been in for years now. They rent it every year, and we see Alan Graves, Jaden Bradley, Nate Biddle, Chucky Hepburn, Elijah Martin, Colin Murray-Boyles, all there. They did a weird thing this morning with them asking. Raptors admin is so childish sometimes. It's like such a little kid thing to do. I mean, y'all are weird with your questions for the players. They asked the players this morning, what sound does a basketball make? And they're like, huh? What? Like, what is this? And they're like, boom, 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 boing, 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 shit like that. But all of the players were like, kind of like, this is a weird question. Why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing this? And I was the same way. I'm like, why are you doing this, Raptors admin? You and your NBA paint, infantilization. I get it. You want to market to kids? Go ahead, market to kids. But man, like, what is these questions? This is that hard-hitting journalism. What sound does the ball make? Doom, 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 doom. I mean, come on now. At least they're not trolling them with horrible, trollish questions like they did once before. I don't get who does these things with the Raptors in their interview questions. Like, seriously, get new material. Get better material than this, than just asking, what sound does the ball make? Ooh. All right, let's see. Let's go look at our team. I went over them last Friday extensively. Well, as I said, we've got returning players that we know very well. Colin Murray-Boyles, our first-round pick from last year, is the star of the show, of course. And then we've also got our guy, Alan Graves, our first-round pick from this year. He is going to be very paramount and forefront in this. Jaden Bradley, our second-round pick this year. Chucky Hepburn, our undrafted two-way from last year. The big center, Nate Biddle, has been seen in the footage from Wynn Ballroom. And well, I'm intrigued. I'm going to go out on a limb. I thought about this yesterday, and I know some of y'all had already said this too, but I'm hoping that Nate Biddle is so good that he ends up on the last two-way and on our roster as one of the last roster spots. Because honestly, he could be a big help, literally, because he's 7 foot. He's probably the best rebounder out of the group, including Jamarian Sharp. And he's also got that three-point aspect to him. So very much player to watch in my book tonight is Nate Biddle. Nate Biddle. And of course, Coach Evo publicly stating this week that he wants to see Colin Murray-Boyles be more of a ball handler and a passer in the summer league. He says, I don't care if you get 5 to 6 turnovers. It's the summer league. It doesn't count. So be experimental, Murray-Boyles. and try new things, because we may be trying to discover things about you and expand these roles into the regular season and Raptors stuff doing this year. So that's another player you want to watch is Colin, for doing activities and things that he didn't do last year and trying new stuff and being experimental on the court. Yeah, that's another guy there. Of course, I love the 905 contingency that's on this team with Tyson Degenhart, AJ Hogarth, Tyreek Key, Elijah Martin, of course, on a standard contract this year, and Chucky Hepburn. Those guys are guys to watch, especially Tyson. I like Tyson. AJ Hogarth's a lot of fun to watch. We watched him a lot last year, and I hope that Raptors fans enjoy watching him in the Summer League tonight. Brandon Angel of Oregon is getting some. He was in one of the clips that we've seen from the ballroom where he's getting some good praise from Coach Evo in the clip. Namari Burnett of Michigan, we go check him out. He plays very much like Norman Powell. Our Canadian Jalen Celestine from Ajax, we got to see how he does. Of course, the Enigma, the 7'5" Jamarian Sharp. Everybody is very hyped about him and seeing him, but I would say don't get your hopes up. I would say just, well, we'll see how he is, but don't get your hopes up. A very creative scorer and dunker, and Malik Thomas. Our G League international player draft pick, Aziz Banadago from Senegal. We're going to have to check him out. Maybe he's a viable candidate for the two-way instead of Nate Biddle. But I'm expecting Aziz to be the center for Coach Noah on the 905 this season. And then also long-time, two-year NBA player Seth Lundy is going to be out there running for us also. So, yeah, that's our team. Let's go look at the Celtics team and who are playing tonight. And, well, it starts with their first-round pick this year, numbers 27, Chris Sanak Jr., somebody we covered on this channel and was suggested to the Raptors to pick, but he fell all the way down to 27. There's some red flags there. So, well, we get to see the guy that we kind of talked about and we're hyped about possibly being on the Raptors play against us on the Celtics tonight. Of course, second-year player Hugo Gonzalez will be the centerpiece of the Celtics team tonight. He's probably the most powerful player and the most important player that the Celtics will have on the court when they play us tonight. So watch out for Hugo. We know Hugo from last season playing for them. They've also got Mohamed Amini out of France. He's an undrafted player from this year. He's 6'7". Chauncey Wiggins from Florida State is running on this team. He is a power forward, 6'10". Dylan Mitchell was their 40th pick in the second round. He was on my list to draft also. So we're going to get to see St. John's Dylan Mitchell in the Celtics uniform against us. So that's two of my picks out of the 10 that are on this Celtics team. Tucker DeVries out of Indiana is on this team. Hank Morgan of Hamilton College. Day Thomas, he's a point guard out of Cincinnati. Milos Uzan, shooting guard out of Houston Cougars. Curtis Jones out of Iowa. These are all undrafted guys. Nate Pringle out of Arkansas Razorbacks. Amari Williams of Kentucky. He's been in the league for 1 year. He was a draft pick of the Magic. John Torjay of Wisconsin Badgers. He was a draft pick last year for the Jazz, and he's on the Celtics Summer League right now. Caleb Grill out of Missouri. Kyle Mangus plays in the Canadian League Basketball League for Vancouver Bandits last season. He's on the Celtics Summer League team. And then finally, former Raptor and longtime player, 4 years in the league, Alondis Williams at shooting guard. He is in the league. He is on the team also out of Wake Forest. So that's the Celtics team. The main players to look out for, Chris Sanak Jr., Hugo Gonzalez, and Dylan Mitchell. So check out those guys in this game today. Yeah, I think that our matchup with them will be pretty good because, honestly, I see us having more experience, even though we don't have a very experienced summer league. And, well, you know, people like Chucky and Elijah are going to be very key leaders to help this team beat them. And having Colin Murray-Boyles the best player in this matchup tonight. Colin is definitely the best player out of both these teams. And, well, we'll have to see how strong Alan Graves is in the midst of all this also. So, yeah, I don't know the refs. They don't announce the refs for the Summer League games ahead of time. But, yeah, these are the teams that are playing tonight in Vegas. Celtics and Raptors, Summer League game number 1 for Toronto Raptors. Yeah, we get our first look at Allen Graves. That's what I want to see right there. So, yeah, there's our check-in and preview for the Summer League game tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern is the time. So, yeah, honestly, we could stagger these games off each other. I believe that the tempo will be playing around 7. And, well, the Raptors will be playing at 9. So it's a doubleheader of basketball, Raptors and tempo. Summer League Raptors and regular season Montreal game tempo. Yeah, I've got triple duty because I'll be watching Scarborough Shooting Stars also because they're playing tonight also in the CBL. Yeah, so they got a game tonight against Niagara in Niagara, and that game will be at that game is going to be around what is the time there? Come on. 7 p.m. So they're going to be on at the same time as the tempo. Also tonight in CBL action is going to be Brampton Honey Badgers at Montreal Alliance. Montreal has been failing lately, so Brampton has a good chance to come in there and mess them up. Last night in CBL action, Calgary got another win. It's kind of crazy. They beat Vancouver Bandits last night, 95-80. And the leading scorer for them was David Joplin with 19 points, 17 points for Armani Chaney. So, yeah, they got the win, and I'm shocked by that because they have not been playing well. Meanwhile, on Vancouver, Tevin Brown had 21 in the losing effort. The other game last night in CBL was Winnipeg and Edmonton, and Winnipeg won 97-93. There's a little bit of a controversial ending at the end of this game. But, well, Winnipeg got the win. 33 points for Teddy Allen, one of the best players in the league, on 11-26 shooting. Big-time stuff. And Simon Hildebrandt had 21 off the bench for the Sea Bears. And the losing effort, Nick Hornsby with 20 and 10 rebounds, a double-double for him. So, yeah, Edmonton goes down once again, and Winnipeg gets the win. There's my check-in with the Canadian Elite Basketball League real quick. Check out the games tonight if you want to, or go to the games if you're in Montreal or in Niagara, St. Catharines, because there's 2 CBL games tonight also. All right, let's check in with you guys in the comments. And now we'll get to the stuff I want to freak out about in some ways, about the silliness, the misinformation, the muck raking, the mudslinging. You know, the Clippers did wrongdoings. They did wrongdoings a long time ago, and they did wrongdoings right now because they're trying to tarnish our name being involved in the whole thing and making it sound like we did something wrong. We did not do a damn thing wrong. And honestly, the way people are coming at Bobby Webster possibly for thinking that he's failing or something like that, you're crazy. Nothing has happened. Everything that was said yesterday was a nothing burger. In some ways, they're utilizing the impatience of you get things right away kind of culture where people can't wait for anything. This is normal kind of shit with the NBA. They want to figure it out before they'll finalize the deal. And that makes sense. And Bobby probably expected all this. Now, there are weird opportunities interlaid in this that possibly could really benefit the Raptors. Most of this will not hurt us. There's only a couple of scenarios where it could possibly hurt us, but even then, there's a silver lining that makes it okay. There's so much misinformation. There's so much jumping to conclusions. You know, the Clippers are going to get in big trouble if they do this right. If they're going to go to the trouble to hold this trade up, well, they better fucking punish the Clippers and Steve Ballmer, because that's the only thing why they should hold this up. If they're just going to sweep it on the rug and say rich people covering up for rich people, then just let the trade go through and it's over. But it's bad for the league. Most NBA fans all over the league, every single league team hates this, and they want to see the Clippers get punished like crazy because this is really awful. If this kind of corruption is allowed to go without being punished, it sets a precedent for other teams to do whatever the fuck they want in ways that are shady and bad. And you know, this stuff probably happens to a certain level already undercover. But they're dumb. They got caught, and they need to be in trouble for it. And honestly, I think that they should annihilate the Clippers franchise to hurt them for years to come, where they are not going to be doing well, like taking massive amounts of picks, maybe even kicking Steve Ballmer out of the league, making him sell the team. Because that's what you did to Donald Sterling when you just showed up in your job in the first place, Adam Silver. That's one of the first things you did is kick out the racist Clippers owner. Well, now you've got a criminal Clippers owner that's trying to circumvent the cap and do illegal shit. So I don't know if you have the guts or even the power to kick out such a powerful billionaire like Steve Ballmer and make him sell the team, especially after he invested so much money in the Intuit Dome and trying to do all this shit. But if you had real balls, Adam Silver, you would ban Steve Ballmer from owning an NBA team forever. Yeah, if you had any real balls, but I don't think you will. I think that what you should do, if you can't do that, is hammer them with taking draft picks and penalizing them to the fullest extent that you can, to the point where they just barely stay in the league, but they're not going to be able to do a whole lot and do anything and actually be that competitive, because they deserve to be punished for this. You need to make a warning for the rest of the league about this, or this is bullshit and this is a lawless league, and we're going to head towards even more malfeasance and kind of bullshit like Steve Ballmer and this aspiration scandal. So that's the thing, that's the thing right there, Adam Silver. You wanted to not have to deal with this at all. If you could have just gone, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. We're going to do some covert penalizations behind closed doors in the boardroom where nobody in public will see. Well, Pablo Torre blew the lid off of that, got a Pulitzer, and pulled your ass into a big controversy, Adam Silver and Steve Ballmer. And y'all may not have want to look at it all year. In fact, I will speculate that the reason why it's taken so long this whole year is Steve Ballmer has tons of money, and he's been pushing it back, the dates, pushing back the appeals, pushing it back. Hey, lawyers, throw another $100,000 at it, and we'll take another 2 months and delay this. That's what they do. That's what rich people do. Everybody's wondering, why isn't this had been figured out already? Steve Ballmer can pay to delay it. He can pay to delay it. That's what rich people do. They'll pay to delay shit and hope that people give up and just go away. So that's why this is this. But now it's under the gun. Now it's in the public. Now it's in the media. Now it's on a headline in front of everybody. So the clock is running. And they want to get this done. Yeah. And well, the Board of Governors annual meeting at the Vegas Summer League is on Tuesday. And I'm going to speculate that that is where it's going to end right there. They're going to get everybody in the room, all the representatives of the whole league, and they're going to sit in the room with Adam Silver, and they're going to talk about what should we do to Steve Ballmer and the Clippers. And the owners are going to have different ideas. Pablo Torre's coming out yesterday asking, why the hell did y'all wait 9 days after the trade was announced to say that the trade can't go through until we figure out aspiration scandal? I'll tell you why. Dolan, James Dolan. I'm going to tell you right now, because that motherfucker is a shit disturber in all kinds of strategic ways. And honestly, the press came out after the Kawhi trade was announced that Eastern Conference owners and people in charge were not happy with the trade and how powerful it's going to make Toronto. So in some ways, could this be a last-ditch effort by the owner of the Knicks to try and fuck up Kawhi coming to Toronto by saying, well, what about the aspiration deal, Adam? What about the aspiration deal? And making a big stink about it. Because maybe Adam Silver was willing to just do the deal and try and sweep all this on the rug and say, Steve Ballmer's my friend. He built a brand new building for the NBA. And I love this guy. He's so enthusiastic. I don't want any of this trouble. Pablo Torre, shut up. It's all this at once, right? So I believe that's what happened, is that the deal was going to be fine with Adam Silver. We were going to do it, but then there was a stink raised by maybe some other owners. And I would say James Dolan is probably number one at the list. So what they're going to do is we're going to sit on this, Raptors fans. We're going to put this on the shelf. We're going to forget about the Kawhi trade for 5 days, and then we're going to come back next Wednesday after the Board of Governors meets on Tuesday, and we're going to have an answer then. And I'll bet you they'll sit in the room. Larry Tannenbaum will be there. Adam Silver will be there. Steve Ballmer's representatives from the Clippers will be there, and they should figure it out. They say, what do you guys think is a fair punishment for the Clippers? What should we do, y'all? Well, this is what we did with Joe Smith, but this is worse. Can we do what we did with Joe Smith and then we'll do extra levels on it? Well, actually, no, we can't do what we did with Joe Smith because we voided Joe's contract, and I don't want to do that this time because it's messy if we void Kawhi's last year of his contract and this whole thing in this trade that they have set up with the Raptors. It could very well be Steve Ballmer planned all this shit to make it messy by trying to put this trade through. It could very well be the NBA wanted to do a little spreading of the tarnishment of the scandal and a little bit on Toronto in a really weird, misdirected way that's not fair, just because in some ways they know there's a publicity fallout of bad negative things from this aspiration scandal. So somehow they're going to push some of the wrongdoing on us. What did we fucking do? No, we didn't do nothing wrong. That all needs to go to Steve Ballmer's lap. All of it's got to go over to his lap right there. Now, all right, that's the gist of some of what I see so far. I know y'all are going to have specific questions, and I want to answer them all. Because like I said, I became an expert on this shit yesterday. Because if there's one thing I love in this world, it's the Toronto Raptors. And if somebody's fucking with them, I find out what the fuck's going on. Because I ain't having this shit. And there's so much misinformation out there coming from Shams, the way he's wording shit. Don't listen to him. Even Josh Lewinberg is sitting on doing videos late last night for TSN, making illusions that the Raptors could really be in big trouble out of the blue in this way. Fuck that. We can't be in trouble, Josh Lewinberg. Stop gaslighting us. Bobby Webster's not a dummy. And if Bobby Webster fucked up, well, we'll talk about it afterwards, but I don't think he did. In fact, I might think that it's more likely, like Blake Murphy's saying, that we're playing 5D chess. And that if there is some sort of suspension for Kawhi, which is not what they did to Joe Smith, by the way, and we get penalized because Kawhi has to sit out, well, there's a silver lining there with load management built into it. Hey, maybe we get less off our cap, like Blake is saying. And this is actually a really sneaky way that Bobby Webster actually gets the Raptors well under the apron. It's shit like this. That's what I'm saying. Everything that happens is an opportunity. And Bobby Webster's an opportunist. He's not trying to get saddled with bullshit. They can muckrake all they want and sling mud from LA towards Toronto and try and make us look bad. But what the fuck did we do? And the rest of the NBA and all the NBA fans of the other teams all see it for what it is. And they're not blaming the Raptors for jack shit. They don't think we did anything wrong. They're all coming after the Clippers with their knives out to stab them. That's what I'm saying here. So, but the press, they're fucked up. And even some of this may be CIA, State Department, USA, Trump bullshit. Make the Canadians look bad somehow in this aspiration thing. Well, motherfucker, what did we do? We're the ones who got aggrieved and harmed by them tampering and taking Kawhi in the first place. So, yeah, we'll sort all this out today. And like I said, this is a question and answers period. I'm going to read every single one of y'all's questions and answer them for today. So if you have any questions about this subject, like I said, I became an expert on it over 4 hours of research yesterday, just pouring over everything I could find about this and the rules in the NBA so I could understand exactly what probably is the outcome. And I will give you answers today. That's right. That's right. Here we go. Per Smooth Brown Man, first in. Trevor's in Vegas. You better take pictures, Trevor. That's all I got to say. You better take pictures while you're there. And I want to see you in the pictures. I want to see you in the picture, Trevor. I want to see you in the picture in Vegas. That's right. He's not here because it's early and he's in Vegas right now. He's probably not awake right now. Reggie's saying this, per Mark Stein, Raptors and Clippers remain determined to make sure the trade happens. Yes. Yes. Both teams want this. We want Kawhi. Yeah. The fans want Kawhi. The Raptors front office wants Kawhi. The NBA wants Kawhi here. Steve Ballmer doesn't want Kawhi on his team anymore because of the tainted scandal. So, yeah, everybody wants this deal to go through. And, well, I'm going to tell you right now, if there's any kind of hang-up, Adam Silver will help us get this happening because he likes the idea of this. He can see the feel of the storylines. He can see the story of it all, the story arc of Kawhi coming back. In some ways, he does want to rectify things with the tampering of the Clippers. And Kawhi coming back to the Raptors is the right move for justice. So, you know, they really do want this trade to happen, and it will. The problem is right now we've got a lot of nephews and casuals and immature people in our fan nation that just want instant gratification once again. They can't handle things being uncertain. They can't handle things not being totally tied up with the loose ends. And in some ways, they crash out. They start thinking about all the worst things possibly happen. See William Liu on Hello Welcome podcast yesterday. The most immature king nephew in Raptors media landscape. This motherfucker is gaslighting y'all as an extension of Shams and the press down south and Josh Lewinberg and all this. William Liu, shame on you for misleading and gaslighting young Raptors fans into crashing out and feeling emotional about this like you. You're a role model, motherfucker. And hold your shit together. Seriously, you're a pathetic man that you crash out like that and get so emotional over a nothing burger. Like what the fuck yesterday was. Yesterday was an announcement. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't anything. And as far as I'm concerned, everything's going to go exactly how it's supposed to. And you're crashing out ahead of time. You want to put layaway on your crash out, except you want to pay it now? That's what you're fucking doing, motherfucker. You're crashing out over nothing. You're crashing out and you're influencing other people in Raptors Nation to crash out like you. And you're horrible for it. I'm going to give a two-finger salute to William Liu right here, because you had the audacity to do a reaction stream yesterday where you showed your own damn sorry-ass feelings, which are so fucking wrong and immature and crashing out like that. And you are a role model for young Raptors fans. They see you, oh my gosh, William Liu is all upset. Oh no, I'm upset too now. Oh, fuck all that. Be stoic. Listen to Aristotle, motherfucker. Go through things with your head on straight and not emotionally reacting. Seriously, this is a nothing burger. This is all going to go according to plan still. We're going to be fine. The season is nowhere near right now. They could take a couple weeks and figure this out. Everybody would be crashing out if they're instant gratification people. Dopamine hit, reels, TikTok, I need the hit. If you're like that and you're trained like that, sure, this may be a long 2 weeks or 1 week or 5 days. But for an old head like me who knows stoicism, knows, well, you can't control this. Just chill and let it all sort itself out. And you'll see it's all fine in the end. Y'all go ahead and crash out and go through all your range of rainbow emotions and your bullshit. You don't have to. You don't have to. And don't listen to William Liu and his gaslighting, trying to fearmonger and make y'all feel like everything's going to shit with the Kawhi trade now. Oh my gosh, they're going to do this and that. They're not going to do jack shit. And if they do, it's a corrupt league that isn't just if the Raptors find any kind of weird punishment. So, yeah, I can't believe William Liu is such a piece of garbage to crash out like King Nephew yesterday. You really fulfilled your nickname that I have for you yesterday, William Liu. King Nephew. You are King Nephew. You are the king of the nephews of the Raptors Nation. Makes me sick to see such a... You have an audience, and they listen to you. I don't know why they're listening to you, you emotional wreck. You should be laying on a couch talking to a shrink, not to YouTube and fucking on a YouTube channel. Seriously, Kareem Thomas is here. Let's see what the dunk champion's saying this morning. League is so corrupt. They knew what he did, and wait until they tried to trade to the Raptors, shaking my head. They had no problem doing the unethical signing when it was to dismantle the Raptors, though. It's all right. The timing's weird. First of all, the timing's weird. Some of this is by design by Clippers and Steve Ballmer to try and not be in trouble, to try and like publicly look better. Steve Ballmer this whole entire time has denied any wrongdoing. He comes out and said, they're going to investigate it and they're going to find we did nothing wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. You know, that motherfucker is denying. Because that's what rich people do when they do something wrong. They'll just lie and say, I didn't do anything. And they'll throw money at the problem. That's the thing. They threw money at the problem. Now, Steve Ballmer tried to be slick and said, well, let's just trade Kawhi before the shit hits the fan. And the Raptors were listening. Maybe Bobby listened to him. He said, you know, what are the possible outcomes that could happen here, Dan? Well, Bobby, I mean, I guess if they do get him in trouble, they could void his contract, but that would be a mess. Yeah, if they void his contract, what would happen then, Dan? Well, I think what would happen is Kawhi would become a free agent, and we could probably renegotiate his deal for what we want with him. Wow, that sounds fantastic. Does that mean he could go to another team? Well, Adam told us that we're getting retribution for the tampering by him coming only here. So I don't think he would be allowed to. I think that we would have to be the only team he could re-sign with. And that may be part of the punishment deal as far as what they say. We're voiding the contract, and you have to play for the Raptors, and you have to sign with them. Oh, this is great. All right. So how can we lose in this? I don't really see how we could lose in this, Bobby, actually. I think that actually this could be really kind of a great opportunity. All right, let's do it. Why couldn't it be something like that, Raptors fans? William Liu's going to cast doubt on his friend, Bobby Webster, that he jokes around with in interviews all the time and says, I love you, Bobby. You're my Asian cousin, and I love you, and I want to be, you know, we have culture together, and I love you. But then you're going to stab him in the back, maybe insinuate that he's doing a bad job, not doing his due diligence, Due diligence? This is everybody talking about due diligence? You don't think Bobby Webster doing his due diligence? Man, Bobby Webster is the epitome of due diligence. And this is what I'm saying. If Blake Murphy's saying he's playing some 4D, 5D chess, I'll bet you Bobby is. It's more like he's doing that than making a very, very big, huge, fatal mistake that's stupid. Seriously, we got to think about this also. As of Monday, this is not a MLSA team that's owned by anybody other than Ed Rogers. You think Ed Rogers trying to get screwed over? You think that Ed Rogers is going to take penalties to himself financially because of Steve Ballmer and his wrongdoing? No, Rogers got a bunch of lawyers too. Oh, yeah. Rogers got a lot of people that will come in and say, yeah, this is not going to work. We're going to come into court. You have no case against us. What did we do? How are you going to do this punishment to us? I mean, that's another thing, nephews out there, casuals, they're crashing out with Will Lou. Think about that. You think Ed Rogers is trying to get sued and money getting taken from him or punished for things that other people did? No. No, he loves money too. And he protects his money. That's right. That's right. Reggie's saying this, per Brian Winters, if Leonard faces a real penalty as a result of the investigation, the terms of the trade could be reopened. See, that's another thing right there. Now, Steve Ballmer is trying to pull a fast one. He's saying, for the trade to go through, the Raptors have to assume responsibility for the charges of what happens. Bullshit, motherfucker. No, we don't. And Bobby Webster said that. He said, we will not assume anything until the decision is made and we see the fallout and we see what the whole thing is. Then we can think about maybe possibly being a part of helping out in some way, but probably not. And this is Steve Ballmer just saying some bullshit to try and deflect. Guilty ass motherfucker trying to deflect, trying to make it seem like, well, I'm going to sling a little bit of guilt over this way at the Raptors, which is, why do we have guilt? What the fuck did we do? In fact, there may be even lawsuits that we could spurn from yesterday against certain people for misrepresenting the situation and implicating us as an innocent party in something we didn't fucking do. Like, seriously, that could be part of what happens. Yeah, we could get real litigious, James Dolan, Adam Silver, and Steve Ballmer. Yeah, we could get real litigious. Y'all have dragged our name through the mud unnecessarily in this aspiration bullshit because we didn't do jack shit in it. In fact, we did the right thing when he came to us, Uncle Dennis, and asked us to do an aspiration deal. Said, no, that's against the rules, Dennis. We won't do it. Sorry, we are following the rules here in the NBA. You think Adam Silver is going to punish us for following the rules when they were the ones that broke the rules? No. And Steve Ballmer's deflecting and using every fucking rich guy trick in the book to try and get out of it and squirm and weasel his way out. Weasel his way out. That's it right there. So, yeah, when they figure out what they want to do on Tuesday, which is when I think they will do it, when all the board of governors are there and they'll vote on it and they'll decide the punishment for the Clippers, we'll hear what the punishments are. Now, a lot of confusion is that people think, and some of the way they're wording it, that we're going to get some of the punishments for the Clippers. No, everything that they're getting punished for, they deal with. Now, the fallout, and this is where the wording gets a little weird, is if there's punishments for Kawhi, we might have to deal with them as he's traded on our team. And that makes sense to a degree. Not that we get punished for it, but that Kawhi gets punished. And that because he's on our team at that point, then in some ways that if he has a punishment like a suspension, he would have to serve it on our team. And that's the wording, and that's what that means. It doesn't mean we're losing draft picks. It doesn't mean that we're going to get fined. It means, and this is what they did to Joe Smith. It's very simple. They made Joe Smith pay back the money that he illegally got paid. They voided his contract. And he had to go play for another team. And, well, the other team has already happened. We're the Toronto Raptors. This is the other team. Are they going to void Kawhi's contract? Maybe not. Are they going to suspend him? Well, they didn't suspend Joe Smith. We'll just have to see. In some ways, that uncertainty kills people. They're just like, I just need to know. We'll just put it on the shelf. Go enjoy your weekend. Touch grass. Have a nice weekend. We'll come see you again next week after the Board of Governors meeting, and we'll have this more clearly. But don't fall out in the meantime. Don't start casting things on Bobby Webster in negative ways because, man, he didn't do nothing wrong. So, yeah, we're going to see how this all works out. And when they figure it out, then Bobby has some decisions to make. Seriously, what's the worst thing that happens? The trade falls through and Brandon and Grady come back. Sure, it's awkward. But you know what? Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick are ultimate professionals. And they would figure it out and they'd be able to play for us still if it really got to that point. So I don't see any way that we actually lose in this scenario. But if you listen to Will Liu or some of the people yesterday, they're acting like the sky is falling and chicken and littling their audiences into thinking that horrible things are coming for the Raptors. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Seriously. Mr. Greg is here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Mr. Greg. Thank you for coming back today. ESPN lives by their irresponsible journalism. Yeah, it's really wording. It's really wording. And, they are loving putting our name into certain places. It's as dumb as this. ESPN listed the WNBA All-Star reserves, and they put Marina Mabrey, Dallas. There's people in there actively that hate Toronto and Canada, and they're trying to shade us. They listed all the players that are going in the All-Star game, and they literally have Marina Mabrey, Dallas, like she plays for the Wings. It's trolling. It's insidious. It's misinformation. It's on purpose because it happens consistently to us. They do this. They put her wrong face on one of the games earlier this year. They put her sister Dara as her in the graphic on the TV. So there is totally a network of fucking idiots that, I would say either they're in bad at their job or they think they're ultimate trolls or they're doing this shit on purpose. And well, that's what they do. They don't want to talk about our accomplishments or anything good about us. They barely want to talk about Kyle Lowry getting retired this week, but they'll go crazy with any negative story about us. Think about Jonte Porter. Think about recently with Ed Davis, who hadn't played on our team in over 10 years, but somehow all of a sudden was getting grouped with us as a Raptors draft pick and all the copy talking about the gambling scandal around him and Malik Beasley. That's what I'm saying. It's yellow journalism. It's perception making, and it's bullshit. And in some ways, if we really want to be litigious like James Dolan, we could probably get a bunch of lawyers and start suing some of these motherfuckers for misrepresentation of character and how they do things. In some ways, it's little shit. Who cares? We don't want to be petty like the owner of MSG. So I just say, understand that aspect of the media when you're ingesting it. And use critical thinking and understand that half the shit that they write about the Raptors, they want to make us look bad. And well, they're using this. They're using us as a dump off point for some of the toxic scandal that the Clippers are dealing with. Is what's happening right now, and it's totally unfair. And honestly, it's stupid because most smart people know the story and they don't think the Raptors did anything wrong. But these journalists will try and paint it a certain way. It's very Fox News kind of journalism. Let's just put it that way. It's very much like that. Mr. Greg's exactly right. Shaq Lindsay saying, what time is the Summer League game? It's at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. In fact, last night, Scotty Barnes was at Summer League. He's been cited in Vegas already. He was sitting at courtside for the Sacramento game, cheering on Jonathan Mobo, playing for the Kings. Yeah, best friends will never die. And in some ways, he may not be seeing him much this season other than when we play the Kings, but he's going to get that time in to go see him play in Summer League for the Kings right now. And yeah, apparently Scotty was cited at the game last night, cheering like he does for the Raptors for Jonathan on the Kings. That's just best friends. I can't get mad at that. Scotty's moonlighting as a Kings fan because his best friend J-Mo is rocking with them now. Yeah, it's very interesting. Neil's here. He's got an eye on my channel. Let's see what's going on here. Shaq Lindsay saying this also. Thanks, guys, for supporting the channel, by the way, also. I think in the end, the trade goes through and Kawhi gets suspended for 10 to 20 games. Two of the Clippers draft picks get penalized, maybe the 27th pick, which would go back to us. There is a possibility that we would receive a 20 and 30% trade exception from the league due to Kawhi's suspension for 20 games. See, this is all like sounding good because first of all, that 20 to 30% trade exception could get us down the apron. And that's the 40 chess of Bobby Webster. That's what I'm saying. You cut down some of this. And the other thing I've heard is if they're penalized for picks or if we're missing Kawhi for anything, we can actually renegotiate the deal to an extent and maybe take some of the picks out of the deal that we have in it already, the 2 second rounds and the 2 first rounds. That two of those picks could be off the table because of all this bullshit. I mean, that sounds good to me. It makes the deal even sweeter, right? It does, yeah. So the likelihood that Kawhi gets suspended is not high, guys. It's not high because in some ways, some people have said he should be suspended for a year, but man, his clock is ticking and he's finally healthy right now. And Adam Silver knows that he's a moneymaker and he doesn't want these really top level players to be off the court in prime time, especially a player like Kawhi who's missed so much time and he's actually good right now. So the likelihood of him suspending him for a whole entire year, the rest of this contract, is not very high. Although if they did that shit, that would be dirty as fuck. But as I said, maybe Bobby's able to renegotiate the deal with the Clippers partly because of the detriment of him not being available for a whole entire year until next year. There is a possibility they do that. They void the contract and they say, well, because your contract's voided for this year, you're not allowed to play in the NBA at all this year. And that's part of the punishment. I mean, that's a very extreme thing. And in some cases, if they did do this punishment, the NBA Players Association, Fred VanVleet, they would be coming for the NBA to talk to them about how this is not right. They would. That's the thing. That goes into a whole other area of a contention then, because you got the union involved, and they're saying this is not right for y'all to do to Kawhi. So they got to watch this. They got to get this punishment for Steve Ballmer and the Clippers exactly right. If they sweep it all in the rug and they say something like there's no wrongdoing, the trade can go ahead as planned, and well, Steve Ballmer gets away with what he did, that's not good for the league. It's not good for the health of the league, and lawlessness rules the land. Well, it already seems like that to a degree. It already seems like that to a degree. Clay Allen's here. Good morning, Clay Allen. The problem I have with Kawhi getting suspended with the Raptors is that they gave up a 27 pick swap, and if the Raptors suck, the pick goes to the Clippers. Well, that would probably be the first thing that Bobby would say that's off the table. You know what? Because of this unforeseen penalization, the price of Kawhi has gone down, and we're taking the pick swap back. I'll bet you that's the first thing they would take off the table because they understand exactly what you said, Clay. That's the thing, is that the Raptors are reserving the right, as Smooth said earlier, to renegotiate the terms according to the aftermath of the outcome of the Aspiration scandal and the punishment. And that's the thing we got to understand. The timing is all screwy with this for sure. Kespra's here. Good morning, Kespra. Good to see you. They were asked a question like, what? Russell Westbrook Freem. Yeah, they were like, how does a ball sound when it bounces? Like, huh? What the fuck are you asking me? Am I a preschooler? Like the ball goes bounce, bounce. The dog goes bark. Bark. What the fuck was that, man? Shaq Lizzie saying Adam is treading lightly because it involves Steve Ballmer. Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. In some ways, that's the sick, disgusting thing about capitalized power and billionaires. It's like they flex their muscle and they think they're above all kinds of shit. And we've gotten to the point where this has gotten too far with this shit, where they're trying to fucking run the world. And Steve Ballmer is an example of this. And in some ways, a less dangerous version than people like Peter Thiel and fuckers like that. But Steve Ballmer is still a criminal and corrupt. And I don't know how Adam Silver deals with this. If he had balls, he would fucking make him sell the team. Seriously, if Adam Silver had balls, he'd make Steve Ballmer sell the team. But it's very likely that Steve Ballmer's insulated himself from any wrongdoing by having fall guys around him, people that were insulated in between him and the deal, that they will be the ones. And Steve Ballmer can make some sort of fucking culpable deniability. I didn't know that they were doing this. This is horrible. I would never done this. He's just saying they didn't do any wrongdoings, but Pablo's got the receipts. And he's saying that, the stuff that he has is already enough for a fucking criminal trial and they would be guilty as hell. So it's like all the information is out. The evidence is out. Pablo Torre, good job. In some ways, it's like, I'm not mad at Pablo Torre because he's the truth. He's justice. Adam Silver probably hates him because he's a shit disturber. And Steve Ballmer has probably already tried to submarine him. He came after him legally in all kinds of ways last year, and Pablo Torre stood up against it and was found right and just in it. And Steve Ballmer was wrong. So he even tried to bully Pablo Torre with intimidation and lawsuits and court dates and shit. So it's just a very interesting situation in some ways. It's a test for the integrity of the NBA. It's a real test for the integrity of the NBA. Fierce is saying this. Good morning, fam, and happy game day. She's going to the game tonight. That's right. Our trivia champion, MJ, is going to the Tempo game in Montreal against the Dallas Wings with Fiercey Jr. And they're going to take in their first Tempo game tonight. That's going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome. I'm so happy for them. She's saying, sad I'll miss the Summer League team debut with Coach Evo, but so happy to see the Tempo later. Yeah, well, there'll be more Summer League games. They actually play tomorrow also. They have a back-to-back. The Summer League team will play at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night against the Rockets Summer League team. So I'll have a preview for that tomorrow morning, going over the Rockets Summer League roster. And, we'll react to the Summer League game tonight and talk about it. I'm sure you'll hopefully get to see some highlights somewhere also, MJ. We find highlights. I'm sure we'll post them in the Discord. UC saying this, kind of glad I kept my expectations low since the trade wasn't even official when Shams tweeted it. Well, it's not about expectations or getting all this or that. Monique was texting me coming back from the grocery store and I'm driving. I have no idea that this story broke. And she's saying, I told you so, Lex. I told you about Kawhi. And I thought she meant about the contract. And no, she meant about this. And when I looked at it all, I'm like, oh, come on. Listen, don't fall for this shit. They're just trying to mudsling. They're just trying to gaslight. And y'all don't take it seriously. Just be above it. Say, I trust Bobby. This will all get sorted out in due time. It'll be figured out. And if the Raptors are penalized in any way, shame on the NBA. Shame on the NBA for allowing this to happen. And it'll make them look bad. In some ways, they got to look good through this. And that's what we're all saying is like Kareem's saying they're corrupt. The league is corrupt. There's a really bad image of the league right now. So if they punish people that didn't do anything wrong, that'll make it look even worse, right? So we just got to trust that the right thing is going to happen. It could be a very bizarre outcome, but hopefully the Raptors, in some ways, there won't be any penalty for us. And it'll actually, in some ways, maybe work in our favor. In some ways, it's a distraction. Some ways, it's just a big hula bub. It's a nothing burger. And I would say, you shouldn't have any feelings about it in any kind of way, either way. In fact, I'm pausing on whether even when it happens, whether, I should be totally happy about it until I see how things go with Leonard on the court and his health outcomes. We never want to just go, yay, we're doing this and this is going to happen. No, we got to go each step of the process and be patient and not have all the answers all at once. And just kind of go through it and figure it all out step by step. That's it right there. But some people want everything figured out right away and just decided so they can move on with their lives. They can't live with loose ends. They can't live with it being not all tied up and figured out yet. And that's what we're in right now. So go ahead and practice dealing with something that is not totally figured out and just being okay with not having it figured out. And when it does get figured out, it's a really good life lesson. It's a really good thing to do. There's all kinds of stuff we face in our lives where we won't have all the answers right away and we have to wait. And patience is a virtue. And that's what this is right now. This is a lesson for Raptors Nation to have patience and let things go through and see through, and everything's going to be fine. That's the other thing I would say. Kareem saying this is so ridiculous. In 2019, the Clippers broke the rules and the Raptors didn't. It's as simple as that. If the Raptors receive any punishment whatsoever, there should be an absolute outrage. Well, once again, because they're making it unclear and they're even trying to make it sound like we're going to take all the punishment that the Clippers have. You can't fucking do that. No, Steve Ballmer. He's saying shit like the Raptors will have to take the punishment for what happens. No, you're misrepresenting. We would have to, as I said earlier, just take the repercussions of the personal punishments to Kawhi if he's a member of our team. And that's it. That doesn't mean the team's getting fined or taken any picks from. That's going to happen to them. That's going to happen to them. In fact, they need to fine Steve Ballmer $100 million or some shit like that. They need to make a crazy, if they're not going to kick him out of the league, they should fine him $1 billion. Some shit like that. Find him some crazy ass number that really hurts a guy like him. And maybe $1 billion is the number, because that's a lot of fucking money. Seriously. Find him that, and really that'll make him feel it. Because, you know, it's hard to make rich people feel it financially. You know, they speed all the time because they don't give a shit, because they can just pay speeding tickets. They don't care. And in some ways, you know, you make this fine the right amount. If you're not going to throw him out of the league, Adam Silver, that's what I'm saying. That's what they got to do. They got to do something like that, you know? Shaq Lindsay's saying this. We're forgetting how powerful Steve Ballmer is and how Adam ain't David. Yeah, and the other thing that was said yesterday is, remember, Adam Silver works for the owners. In some ways, they are his boss. He doesn't work for the players or the league or the fans necessarily. He works for the owners. And that's why the balance of this is going to be decided with the owners on Tuesday. I'm telling you right now, that's where it's going to be decided, because that's how they had to do it with Donald Sterling too. It's like, look, you think Donald Sterling is just going to say, yeah, get the fuck out. You got to go. No, I'm not going. I'm going to fight this. No. When you get the room full of the owners and the billionaires and they all vote and they say, no, you're out, you fuck this up, that's where the power lies, is the other guys that are like Steve Ballmer coming together as a group and voting and deciding his fate there. That's where it can happen on Tuesday at the Board of Governors meeting in Las Vegas. That's where it's going to happen. That's why Grange is saying that yesterday. Michael Grange actually doing a good job as a journalist yesterday, towing that line for the most part, trying to be fair and passing the information on to Raptors fans without the extra gaslighting. In some ways, he was very, like, kind of just telling people this is how it is. And I appreciate you for that, Michael. Usually you're the one who's amping things up, chicken littling and gaslighting. But you were actually very on point with your information and trying to clearly state exactly what's going on. And I appreciate you for that. I'm not often going to say that to Grange, but I'm going to say it today. What a range of your week, Grange. You've spoiled Kyle's press conference. You get banned from it. And now I'm praising you on Friday for how you covering this aspiration scandal. Yeah, I think Grange is right. I think that this is all going to get decided on Tuesday, when the rich people sit in a room and they decide the fate of Steve Ballmer and the Clippers. Yeah, and Larry Tannenbaum will be there presiding. Watch. Yeah, and he has a special interest in what happens to Toronto Raptors, doesn't he? Yeah, you think Larry Tannenbaum's going to sit in that Board of Governors room as the head of the governors and say, yeah, you guys are going to punish the Raptors unnecessarily and wrongfully? No, he's not going to let that happen. Larry Tannenbaum, you know he won't. We got to look at this whole thing right here, you know? Shaq Lindsay's saying this also. Adam is a puppet. Yeah, he's a puppet. He's a corporate lawyer. He's a shell of a person. He's a Sith. He's a former Disney executive. That'll tell you all you need to know right there. A former Disney executive. That'll tell you everything right there. Yeah, Disney executive. Yeah, Disney lawyer. Yeah, that'll tell you all you need to know right there. UC saying this: the moment Adam Silver accepted gambling companies, he became corrupted and is only after profit for himself and the owners. Not surprising he has taken months and months to handle this nonsense. I'm telling you, it's the old rich man move of Steve Ballmer throwing money at it to delay it. That's why it took so long for this. All the information is there. Apparently, the law firm that is investigating this is one of the top independent investigative law firms, and they really do this shit correctly, and they really do it right. I think that Pablo Torre did most of the work for them. So they should probably just go watch the Pablo Torre podcasts and look at all the information he's gathered. And they did half the legwork for the investigative lawyers. In some ways, like I said, this has Steve Ballmer throwing big money at it all over it. That he's just throwing money to delay. But now it's come to a head because we're going in the new season. They have to move on for Kawhi. It could very well be Steve Ballmer strategically doing some shit to manipulate the whole thing to lessen the impact on the Clippers. That sounds very, very likely, right, guys? That Steve Ballmer's doing some shady shit. You know, that's part of why maybe he was like, yeah, we want to trade Kawhi right now, you know, and stuff like that. And even though Bobby's kind of like, you know what, this is opportunity. Let's take it. Let's take it. All right, we got Stargate calling in hot from here in the city. Stargate, good morning.
Good morning, Liz. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. Make sure you're talking directly in the phone, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. I just want to give my perspective on this whole Kawhi Leonard thing here.
Sure.
Um, I gotta hand it to what's his name? Pablo. Is it
Yeah.
Pablo, the guy who wrote the story?
Yeah.
He seems to be the only one. And I'm going to take up for the Raptors here, and I'm going to take up for Canada here. And it's going to be, of course, very unpopular, what I'm about to say. I mean, you said it earlier, it seems like the American media is trying to, throw this narrative that the Raptors are somehow at fault here. And I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I expect it from them, because we know how they feel about the Raptors and their whole impression of the Raptors. What is really disheartening for me is I don't hear anyone from the mainstream media here in Canada taking up from the Raptors. You just did it, as someone online, saying, hey, look, one, it's strange that the time, and this has been going on for 10 months. And Pablo is the one I watched his interview, and he seems to be the only one, and he has no affiliation to the Raptors, to saying, you know what, the timing of this, with this trade going through the Raptors, the timing of this is a little suspect, because this has been going on for 10 months.
Well, did you hear what I said earlier? My theory about why the timing's happening right now.
I didn't hear the full theory.
This is what I said. I think this is what happened. We got the trade done, and nobody cared about it. But then they thought about how good we're going to be with Kawhi on our team. And Eastern Conference owners like James Dolan raised a stink.
Yes.
And they're pressing Adam to figure out the aspiration to try and slow this down or stop this trade.
I was coming to that.
That's exactly what I think it is. I think that that's why the timing is after. That's the answer to Pablo Torre's question. Why did it happen after the trade was announced? Because Eastern Conference executives and owners freaked out about the power of Scotty Barnes, Murray-Boyles, and Kawhi Leonard, and they're trying to stop it in some sort of weird, fucked up way at the last second.
Yep, I agree 100%. And the thing is, we're not hearing. Sometimes I wish that you were you were somehow on mainstream media sometimes, because we need someone like you who would come out and say things like this in the mainstream media, instead of having people like William Liu going off and losing it and think. We need balance. We need someone to counteract that.
Yeah.
Right? But we have so much people losing their minds off of this and putting the blame on Bobby for this.
Yeah, well, that's by design too, because look, it's just like everything they do with our players. They want to make insecurity and mistrust in the Raptors nation towards our people, whether they want to tarnish Darko, whether they want to tarnish RJ, they tarnish Jakob, IQ, they want to tarnish Bobby, and they want to build a perception where Bobby's not doing a good job so that we would want to fire him because they know he does a good job. And it's all gaslighting the Raptors fans. And, that I think that's a big part of the apparatus of it.
It's wild. It's wild that people are thinking that Bobby is anyway.
Yeah, I think that it's the way they perceive it, and they look at the storylines and they say, well, Bobby, you're a loser. Why did you walk into this like this? Like, why weren't you aware? Man, he knew what he was doing. Trust me. And the other thing I would say is, look, I understand what you're saying about my platform and how many, you wish I had a bigger mainstream audience. Well, I would say to everybody who's listening to me right now, if you agree with me and you hear what I'm saying, our word of mouth can spread real fast. And that's what I feel like the power of the Raptor Freak channel has been. Even though we're a small contingency, we have a lot of power by putting this out. You guys hear me today. If you agree with some of the stuff I'm saying, parrot it. Go in other places. Go on social media. Go to Hello and Welcome podcast and write comments in there. And just spread the word so that we can be a more informed fan nation and not fall for the gaslighting. Because in some ways, what we're doing here is not just talking about Raptors issues. We're teaching people how to be more critical thinkers and dealing with this ever-changing press and the way the media is going and the way it is. Think about Renee Good, who was shot by ICE agents in the streets of Minnesota. And they try to blame her and frame her in all kinds of ways. It's all about making up stories for the perception you want to put out there. And they tried to act like she was a dangerous criminal driving into officers and shit like that, which was not the case. So that's the thing. They're going to write this narratives that they want you to try and think for that. And you got to think critically and not accept every bullshit thing that you hear from the media at this point.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in William Lou. I mean, he has such a big platform, and the way
11,000 people, like, you know, that on his thing. But yeah, he does have more. He does have a bigger voice.
I mean, like, come on, like, you know, be a little bit more, you know, be a little bit more mature about the whole thing. You know,
that's him personally. I mean, he's not. Man, in some ways, I'm very disappointed in him. Between the interview with Rowan Barrett Sr. last week and dropping F-bombs and being unprofessional towards such a very good guest to have on the show. And then now he has this crash out hour yesterday after all this stuff comes out. I could have gone live yesterday right away and done a panic mode reaction stream, but I didn't because I knew this was a nothing burger. And I said, I'll wait till I'm my normal time and we'll come around. We'll talk about it then. But yeah, he's so immature and he's a bad role model for Raptors fans. Do not listen to William Lou on this whole issue, guys. He is gaslighting y'all. And if you have any negative feelings because William Lou told you to, I'm telling you right now, let's be mature adults and look at this as an adult would and say, look, this hasn't been sorted out. Let's react to it after it's all said and done. And it could very well work out very much in our favor, some of this shit. If it goes the wrong way, then we'll be pissed off and we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, and I have to commend the RFF family. I mean, just looking at Discord and even some of the comments here, at least, you know, most of the you know, the RFF family saying, you know what, they agree with you. This is a nothing burger. You know, this is the worst case scenario. We should not be punished at all. You know, just one more thing before I go.
Sure.
I'm very interested in seeing, you know, one, how the NBA deals with it as it relates to the Raptors, right? And two, I'm very, very interested because you know I don't trust Rodgers and Pelly and them. I'm very interested in how they react, right? To see how they react. Because earlier I heard you saying, well, you know, Ed Rodgers, you know, he likes his money and stuff like that. Okay, let's see. Let's see if he takes up for himself and takes up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This may be one of the times where having Ed Rodgers as the owner is actually a plus.
Yeah, well, let's see. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. I don't think he really has basketball, you know, this is in the back of my mind, best interest of basketball in his heart, right? Especially because he hired Pelly. But that's just me. Right?
I would disagree with this. I mean, he seemed very happy at the Raptors championship parade and at all the stuff that the Raptors had things. He wants money, and he knows very much from 2019. If the Raptors are successful and win championships, he's getting more money.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see, because we all know sometimes people have certain mentalities that kind of overshadow the money, right?
Yeah, but I genuinely believe that Keith Pelly and Ed Rodgers are being straightforward as far as they want the Raptors to be successful because they know it's a good money generator, and they are building towards this. There's no signs that they're hindering us, and there's no signs that you know, maybe they're taking like the hierarchy of sports in Toronto into account, whether the Leafs or the Jays or this or that with them. And I don't think that any of this is happening right now. Like it did before with MLSE and Richard Petty around the turn of the century into 2005. I think that they know that the Raptors brand is really worth a lot, and they're smart businessmen, and they don't want to fuck that up.
Well, let's see. I'm just curious to see how, you know, how he you know, how he acts, and you know, we hear Obama.
I think this is one of those times where he's going to be a plus, and that he's actually we're going to actually be happy he's our owner in some ways.
He should be.
Yeah.
I want to see him use his power and say, okay, like, I'm just as powerful as you guys.
Yeah.
I have the same money as you guys.
I'm an oligarch. I've got a ton of money up here from cable, and I am, you know what, this is wrong, and you guys are legally attacking us. I'm going to bow up and come back at you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I can see this.
I'll be very proud of him if he does.
Yeah. I mean, I want to give Ed a hero arc if he can have one. Seriously.
Yep.
I want to give him one. I mean, in some ways, like I said, when they took over last year and now they're 100% in charge, I wanted to give them a chance. I didn't want to come out and just say, oh, the day has come. I hate Ed Rodgers. He's in charge of our team now. We're fucked. No, I wanted to give him a chance because I know that in some ways, some of his goals and what he wants are aligned with mine. So,
And one last thing.
yeah.
I think the biggest plus that we have with this whole thing is that Larry is a big member of the board.
Yeah,
right?
he's very
Thank you,
respected.
Governor.
And
Right.
yes, he can be in that room and really look out for us. Hopefully, he's still
Yes.
doing that job. That may have changed, though, as
That's
of
true. That's
Monday.
true.
That may have
That's
changed.
true.
And it could be totally different. It could be a Rogers representative that is there, or I don't know who our regent is now for the Raptors, because it was Larry up until recently. So
Either way, this is the time that I'm watching you, Ed Rogers. This
Yeah.
is the time he needs to step up and say, okay,
we'll see.
you
We'll
guys,
see.
don't fuck with me.
We'll see. Like I said, everybody's trying to paint the story of what's going to happen, and we don't know yet. And we need to be okay with uncertainty, and we need to be willing to see how it all rolls out. And then, after things have happened and dust settles, then we can figure out exactly what we should be reacting. All right, Stargate, I appreciate your call. I hope you have a great weekend. Let's go Raptors. Let's go Tempo. Great sports night tonight. Summer League starting up, and Tempo in Montreal. Woo-wee!
All right. Take care, man.
All right. I'll see you soon. Let's go, Raptors.
All right. Peace out.
All right. Cool. All right. I'm glad we heard from Stargate. He was one of the voices on the Discord yesterday that I was pretty much lining up with a lot of what he just said. And I appreciate him having words of praise for the Raptor Freak family in his phone call for us not crashing out like King Nephew and the hello and welcome crowd. It is really good. And listen, last week I know Stargate was detrimental in talking words about some people in RFF, but there you go. He's coming around. He's trying to make amends. So I hope that goes somewhere with some of the members of this channel. You know what I'm saying? Right there. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I agree with UC saying that the gambling has really cast a whole shadow of unnecessary kind of worry and implications of possible improprietary stuff that can happen. And we've seen it has when it comes to Malik Beasley, Jonte Porter, and people like that. It's like you open a whole can of worms to mess up the integrity of your sport. Your sport is in some ways getting closer and closer to WWE. And in some ways, that's a problem. That's a problem. Shaq Lindsay saying this. Let's remember Toronto and LA said no to Uncle Dennis. Toronto said no to Uncle Dennis, and the Clippers said yes. Yeah, you mean the Lakers. You mean the Lakers. When you say LA, you can mean either team. Well, that's what I'm saying is like, this is so out in the public. Thank you, Pablo Torre. That and general NBA fan of other teams that are involved in this, they can see it for what it is, and they can parse it all out and know exactly who's at fault. They know. That's right. Let's see. We got Omari in here, man. He's got moving on Niagara. Moving to Niagara. Y'all, if you have any real estate rental needs, and want to buy a house, Omari Parsons moving to Niagara is your guy. He can help you find a place just to rent or buy, especially over in that Niagara region. So he's a realtor and he has his own company. And I really love for you to check him out if you have any housing needs these days. He can make things happen for you you may not think were possible. Let's just put it that way. So Omari's saying this. Wagwan, freaks. Looking forward to this freak out. Nothing to worry about. We don't inherit Clippers penalties. We'll only have to deal with Kawhi's penalties, if any. Suspension is load management. Fuck it. Now, Omari, dealing with realty and houses and stuff, knows a lot about fine print and contracts and how things work in systems like that. And well, he can apply some of this stuff to this instance with the Aspiration scandal and who's at fault and who's liable and things like that. This is all very important stuff to a realtor and how they work their contracts and things like that. So Omari knows a bit about contracts and this kind of stuff. So praise to you, my guy. Thanks for coming in the chat and adding your 2 cents. And yeah, you wanted to hear me freak out. That's right. You want to hear me go off on the Chicken Littling going on by Raptors Nation about this. There's nothing here, y'all. Just stop. We're going to be fine. And they just raised up a whole bunch of bullshit to get a rise out of y'all. And too bad that y'all fell for it. You shouldn't have sold it, as they say in wrestling. Somebody comes up to you and fake hits you, don't sell it. Don't sell it. Or somebody does hit you, don't sell it. Don't give them that satisfaction. And know that this was designed by U.S. media, ESPN, and Shams to get y'all disheveled and fall out like William Liu. Well, if you didn't fall out like me, you passed the test because they gaslighted y'all that did fall out And you didn't need to do that. It was unnecessary. You didn't need to do that. That's right. That's right. Shaq Lindsay saying, I will go as far to say Uncle Dennis isn't wrong for asking. The wrong is when you accept. Yeah, I mean, all right. This is the weird thing about Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis Robertson is not legally an agent. He has no certification to it. They use this guy Mitch as his partner. And well, he's going to lose his ability to ever be an agent in the NBA ever again. For sure. Dennis, he should be implicated also, but who knows? Maybe part of the holdup is Kawhi has legal money that he's holding up to try and save his uncle. You know, in a just world, they would probably send Mitch to jail. They'd probably send Dennis to jail for a little while. They'd probably send some people from the Clippers organization to jail. And just like the Aspiration guy's gone to jail. And in some ways, you know, the people that were in on this and knew the malfeasance and the how wrong it is circumventing the cap, everybody who had knowledge of that should in some way go to jail. But this is the thing, Adam Silver may be like, we don't want the feds involved. We don't want the U.S. justice system involved. We're taking care of this in-house. In some ways, if we signal that this has happened and there's something like this, we want congressional hearings involved in the NBA. No, we don't. We already have that with the WNBA right now because of some bullshit. So it's like Adam Silver didn't want to deal with the lawsuit from the Knicks towards us in the courts. He wants to deal with it internally. So in that case, then it kind of makes it like, well, will there be anybody going to jail? Probably not if it's dealt with by the NBA, because the NBA can't just say, oh, Uncle Dennis, go to jail. No, he has to go to a criminal court and get charged that way to go to jail, right? Right? You got to think all this stuff through logically and stuff. Now, Dennis and Mitch are completely banned for life from doing anything with any NBA organizations in any kind of way. And this is part of the reason why Kawhi had to hire a new agent this week, is because he can't have these people represent him anymore. They've said that some of the people involved on the Clippers side in the front office, they may be suspended for a year and not allowed to work for the Clippers, or maybe they are banned from the league altogether for the rest of their lives. These seem like these are the kind of things that the NBA could do. The jail time is probably not likely if criminal courts of the U.S. are not involved. It's more likely that. I mean, you could look at Jonte's sorry ass. He went to jail for a little while, and he still went and played for that sorry ass league out West Coast for Seattle's team. And he's a free man and still playing some ball. Did he get in big trouble? Is he in jail right now? No, he isn't. In some ways, he should be, though. In some ways, he should be. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Nako's here. Good morning to Gerald. Good to see you, Gerald, this week. Going to Jamaica with my good friend Nako the Nacho. You can check out the picture of us at the Jamaica-Canada game on Monday. Howie, that pick Masai got sure played well. Can't wait for Alan Graves and CMB tonight. You talking about Morez? You watched some Summer League already, and you saw Morez Johnson Jr. suit up for the Dallas Mavericks Summer League team, and he was doing really well. I'm speculating that Coach James Wade may be showing up on Dusty May's coaching staff with Garrett Temple, that we may be seeing Wade and Temple on the bench for Dusty May in Dallas because Masai is building his dudes. We got to remember that James Wade was never a Darko guy. Most of Darko's staff worked with him in places like Oklahoma City and other places, like Drew Jones III, Evo, worked with him in Europe, Delaney, all these guys, they've been his dudes from other places, Mike Batiste. But James Wade was not a Darko coach. James Wade was a hire by Masai. He was friends with Masai, and Masai liked James Wade, and he had pegged him. Well, Masai's gone. And in some ways, James had a year after Masai being here, but he really wasn't a Darko coach this whole time. In some ways, Masai asked Darko to have James Wade on his coaching staff. So I could see James Wade switching teams to Dallas because he's a Masai dude. And, you know, that I could see this. If we hear it happen, well, we'll see it happen. That's right. Yeah, you can't wait for Alan Graves and Colin tonight. Yeah, I'm interested to see the experiment stuff with Murray-Boyles as him being a more of a ball handler and a director and passer and even bringing the ball up the court. They really want him to rebound and just take the ball right up the court dribble style. They really want to expand his skills and his game in Summer League and things he's going to be working on. So it'll be very interesting to see the role and how Colin plays tonight, because it's not going to be like how he played as a rookie last year. He's going to have a very expanded role. In fact, he may be playing more like Scotty tonight in certain ways. Very much all round kind of player on the court, the leader, doing all kinds of different things on the court for everybody. I think that's what it's going to be. Shaq Lindsay saying Uncle Dennis is on a beach somewhere with all his money laughing. Ha ha ha. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, man. I'll bet you he's sweating, bro. I'll bet you he's sweating. And he's also probably feeling like, you know what? I totally fucked up in this whole thing. He's probably been really worried this whole year, man. Seriously. Now, that's the thing. Part of the punishment could very well be that the NBA demands Kawhi to send any ill-gotten gains from any kind of deal on the download. If they have the receipts and they know exactly how much he was paid out from Aspiration in illegal funds, they'll probably take that money from him personally, like they did Joe Smith, and they may even put a penalty fine on him also and take even more to really, because that's the thing. When wrongdoing happens, you want to have a punishment that fits the crime so that people are deterred from doing it. You have the death penalty because you don't want people to mass murder people, right? You know, you want the punishment to be something serious enough so that people are like, yeah, we don't want to do this. We don't ever need to try and do what they did in Clippers with the Aspiration thing, because look at what happened to them afterwards. That's what has to happen. The other shoe has to fall, and the Board of Governors will probably decide that fate on Tuesday. That's what I'm thinking right there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep going with the chat. Great, lively discussion about all this bullshit. Honestly, it is bullshit. And, you know, hopefully it'll all sort out, and actually the Raptors will get a real benefit from it. Kareem saying Will's crash out was warranted simply because you don't fucking allow a trade and then veto it. His crash out was because of Adam Silver in the NBA, nothing else. Still, it's over dramatic and stupid. And in some ways, like I said, he misleads other people into thinking stupid stuff. And if he was in any kind of way implicating that Bobby's stupid or he wasn't doing things correctly, he's wrong for that. Either way, he's not a good role model for how we should act as men. Seriously, we should have it a little bit more together in these kind of situations. We need to be stronger. We need to be more controlling our emotions, and maybe even a little bit more, like I said, stoic. Because in some ways, this is a nothing burger. This is an announcement that, well, I'm not surprised by in some ways, because the Aspiration thing has not been resolved. And it makes sense that they need to tie it up as soon as possible right now. In some ways, it's actually in the benefit of the Raptors that we didn't get the trade finalized before this all happens, because we can see the penalties and the punishment and see how that changed things. And we can renegotiate the deal before it's finalized and done. It's all things in the right order is what this is. And in some ways, well, Willie Lou can crash out and get mad at the NBA for taking so long. I really think it's probably because Steve Ballmer stymied it and paid it to delay and delay and delay because he didn't want the press out there. Think about how long it took for Adam Silver to figure out the lawsuit from the Knicks to the Raptors. It took like 2 years, right? It took so fucking long. And, you know, this is that kind of stuff. This is that kind of stuff. Everyone you say, oh, they dropped the ball. They've had all year to deal with this. Well, remember, there's money coming from Ballmer that is paying to stop it and to try and hold it up. And that's a very powerful thing. A rich person with a lot of money that they can just burn money on just delaying and holding things up is very much a legal strategy for people that are in trouble. Just delay, 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 appeal, appeal, appeal. You know, we know this. Either way, I still think that Will Lou is a king nephew, and he's not a good role model for Raptors Nation. Nako's saying this. Grady and Scotty also look like they're still cool. Of course they are. Of course they are. You saw them together at Summer League in a picture or something? Of course they are. They're always going to be friends, teammates forever, even if they're not playing on the same team. Listen, once again, if it were any other guys, in some ways I'd be a little bit worried, but those two guys are dutiful, very professional guys. Grady Dick and his parents are top-notch professionals. And if Grady had to come back to the Raptors, well, he could be doing worse things. He could be going to a shitty team like the Wizards. You know what I'm saying? And Brandon, he might be laughing if the trade gets rescinded and he has to play for us still. He has no hard feelings. This dude is a baller. He just wants to play. And in some ways, he knows how it is up here in Toronto. If it got toxic and I'm wrong, and he's like, yeah, fuck them. They wanted to discard me. I don't want to play for them. And I'm wrong. Well, then we deal with it then. And maybe we have to switch the deal and reroute him to another team. But I would also make an argument saying that if this all fell through and this trade didn't happen and Brandon Ingram had to circle back to the Toronto Raptors, he probably would, and he would be professional and do things right. I think people portraying him as some dude who's going to be punitive are wrong. Because honestly, Brandon understands the business of the NBA. And in some ways, this is ugly in a weird situation. But if Dalton Connect can go back to the Lakers and be fine and play for the most part on this team, although they're trying to shop him again right now, I'm sure that Brandon Ingram can be fine with coming back to Toronto too, if that is ultimately what happens. But honestly, the percentage chance of that happening are not very high because once again, Adam Silver knows that's a whole kit and caboodle that could really screw things up in the NBA in certain ways if the deal gets voided. You know what I'm saying? So, Kaloy's saying this morning, great day for some hoops today in Scarborough. Fuck Bomber. Ha ha ha. We are fine, Raptors fans. Good, Kaloy. You're going to get out there. Magic is pleased. Magic Johnson is happy. But you're going out there because it's sunshine and rainbows and there's no overcast. I get it. Just get those shots in. Get your shots in and get your time out there. Get your sweat equity, just like Seymour Pape throwing shots in at the warehouse in Calgary. That's right. Kaloy saying Raptors are not going to get punished. It's Kawhi that has a potential punishment, and we are trading for him. We will be fine. The punishments for Kawhi, if you were going by Joe Smith, void the contract, make him pay all the money back that he got illegally, and maybe even pay more as a fine to say, don't do this ever again. The stuff doesn't happen directly to us. In fact, the only way it really implicates us is if he's suspended. But there's no precedent for a player to be suspended for cap circumvention. So in some ways, it's not the player that did something wrong. It's the agent and the front office that did something wrong. And in some ways, you know how Kawhi is. He's so aloof and weird. He could probably have culpable deniability by saying, I didn't have any idea what Uncle Dennis and Mitch were doing. And to prove in court that Kawhi had knowledge of this all happening is going to be kind of hard in some ways, but maybe not. Maybe because Pablo Torre's got the signature on the things, but it could very well be also they could make an argument saying that Dennis and them didn't explain it all to him. They just brought it to him and just said, sign this. You know, there's all kinds of different ways they can try and figure this out. And in some ways, both Leonard and Ballmer insulated themselves with patsies. People that could be in between to take the fall just in case. Just like a lot of crime is done, they'll have people in the middle that can actually get the blame pointed to, like Ghislaine Maxwell or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think is going to happen. I think that Kawhi in some ways will have to pay money back. He may have to pay a penalty fine, but I don't see him missing games. And I don't see him getting his contract voided. I don't see those two things. That's right. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Raptors are not going to get punished. It's Kawhi. Yeah, we read that. Randolph is here. Good morning, Randolph. Game day blessings, beloved Raptor freaks family. Out of evil cometh good. Pack the negativity and the things that are meant to destroy you under your feet and use it to go higher. I love that. That's a great words of wisdom. Take the negativity and be above it and use it as a stepping stone. Use it as experience to know better and be smarter for it and go and achieve higher. That's it right there. Randolph is right. All right, I'll use this to do my HD check-in for today. We are in the gate of 53, which is the gate of beginnings. And the gate of beginnings is, realize that the experience journey is never straightforward. It's more of an adventure to be lived. Don't hold any expectations of precisely what will happen too tightly, as disappointment may be what you meet. The potential depression that can develop from dashed hopes. You don't want to get your designs on what's going to happen with this just in case. But I'm pretty sure everything's going to work out. But this is the whole idea of like when you start a new journey or a new beginning of something, you may have ideas about where the destination is. But while you're in the middle of the process of doing what you're doing, it could be rerouted or changed. And in some ways, we have to have flexibility for a range of outcomes, even when we start a project and we think that it's going to go a certain way. Today is the fourth line of gate 53, and that the word for today is assuredness. Assuredness. This is actually a personal line in my human design. And basically, the detriment is the persistent difficulty with embarrassing or awkward situations where normal emotional reactions may prove detrimental, Will Lou. Individual pressure for beginnings that creates awkward and sometimes embarrassing situations. Talk about my middle school dating life. Yeah. You go and talk to a girl, you say you like her, and she laughs at you, and it's awkward, and you feel stupid. This is what the energy is for this today. This is what it is. And exaltation, on the positive side, it's the ability to maintain the strength of one's individuality in complex and often awkward situations that ensure continued security and development. The pressure to maintain one individuality in confused beginnings. This is something that is a big theme for right now. As the world is changing with AI and a lot of upheaval, some of it's economic upheaval, we have to decide to stay true to who we are and understand who we've been this whole time is not going to change just because the world's changing around us. So, in the pressure of that, you need to try and stay yourself, even if it's awkward, even if it doesn't totally fit, because they're changing the world in a false way, epitomized by what's happened yesterday with the stuff we're talking about today. Is that there very much is a false world that there's people out there trying to create, and you got to stick to your guns of what you know in your critical thinking and understand what is actually real and what is right and wrong still, because they're going to pervert it. They're going to try and change it. So yeah, the theme today is assuredness. Have assuredness in your own awkwardness and your own personal self and who you truly are, even as things around you change. That's the gate 53 line 4 for today. Assuredness. That's the word of the day. Be assured to be yourself truly in all confusing situations. Thank you for letting me indulge in a little bit of a human design lesson this morning. Hopefully you get something from it and the whole ideas and the themes of it. It's not a religious thing. It's not a cult. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's a system to help people understand themselves better so that they can have happier lives. Yeah, that's the energy today. Assuredness. Assuredness. That's right. Kaloy saying this: once Bobby heard that Kawhi wants to go back, he deliberated and decided this was a risk you want to take. I mean, listen, if we ain't done nothing wrong and the system is just, everything should work out, right? That's it right there. If the system is messed up and crazy, well, then there's problems. And there's problems just with the whole thing in general. And it's not just the problem with us, it's a problem with the whole NBA and what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? G's here. Good morning to G. Clippers tampered and potentially committed fraud, but Raptors need to deal with the punishment. Sorry, but this is wrong if true. They had 10 months to complete the investigation. Yeah, we're not what they're saying, and it's misworded, and that's why people are jumping to conclusion, because everybody wants to put blame and make it they're mudslinging. They want to push some of the guilt off of them in the perception of the public and try and put it on us somehow, some weird way. A lot of people aren't falling for it. And it's the wording of the journalists that is mischaracterizing it. The only thing that said yesterday was if Kawhi has any punishment and he's under contract with us and he's on our team this year, then we'll have to deal with that. That's the only part of it where we would have to deal with it. They're leaving out the part where they're saying that, the majority of everything that happens is going to be dealt with by the Clippers. They're leaving that part out because in some ways, Steve Ballmer's probably paying people in public perception places, public relations people, to try and handle this and tidy it up. And in some ways, they're slinging some of the negative stuff on us. And that's what this is. And some people are falling for it and thinking they're crashing out about it. It's crazy. G saying, I'm not worried at all. Just don't like how they are phrasing that the Raptors will need to deal with the punishment. Yeah, that's totally by design. And it's fucked up journalism is what it is. It's fucked up journalism. The media is not saying that the Clippers would need to deal with punishment as well. Anyways, all good. In the end, we'll prevail. They're leaving that part out. I think that most people want punishment for the Clippers. You ask Spurs fan, you ask Hornets fan, you ask Rockets fan, you ask Indiana Pacers fan. They all want punishment for the Clippers. They don't want to punish us. They don't think we did anything wrong. The whole rest of the league understands this. People understand this in general. It's just that ESPN and the Clippers public relations are trying to mudsling some of their guilt onto us in some weird way with phrasing these articles. You know what I'm saying? Banana Bread Tan's here. Good to see you. Great Raptor Freak and Banana Bread Tan. Hey, Lex. Hope everyone's good. I hope that Kawhi's contract gets voided. Then we can just sign him as a free agent, keep all our draft picks. Yeah, that could be part of the punishment, and that could work. Honestly, I don't know how it exactly all works. Some people have said if the punishment comes out and there is a detriment to us in some ways, we can renegotiate with the Clippers and take some of the draft picks out of the deal. And I believe that sounds fair to me. Also, once again, if there is any weird suspension for Kawhi and he has to miss games next year, and that is what they're implying when the Raptors would have to take some of the punishment, well, in some ways, that's load management. And there could even be cap bonuses for the Raptors because we have to pay him less because he's suspended without pay. And all of a sudden, we're under the apron. And that is the chess move that we're talking about with Bobby Webster being ahead of things and understanding this and being like, whoa, Blake Murphy's worried about the hard cap of the $209 million. All of a sudden, the NBA says, well, Kawhi, you're suspended for 20 games at the beginning of the NBA season. And the Raptors don't have to pay you that money, and it won't count towards their cap. And then all of a sudden, Bobby looks like a crazy genius. We get a built-in load management. Kawhi gets to do a little BI intro where he sits on the bench and watches everything, practices with us, gets really healthy. And then he shows up and he plays at the end of the season for us into the playoffs, and everything's fine. I could see this happening like this. Banana Bread Tan, you want to see it avoided so we can get it on our terms. That's right. That's right. KT saying Kawhi's contract won't get voided. The players' union will fight that. Who knows? Maybe in some cases, maybe once again, we've got people in power that are very friendly to us. Fred VanVleet is the president of the Players Association. And in some ways, we know he has a special connection with our particular franchise. So, and he has a special connection with Kawhi himself. I mean, he's not a champion without Kawhi, right? So we've got good people in the right places, whether it's Larry and the Board of Governors meeting or Fred VanVleet as the president of the Players Association. We've got good people looking out for us that I trust in the right places, right? Right. Stargate saying I would be okay with a suspension till the new year if they're going to get the suspension route, load management, and getting acclimated to the team. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like what I was just saying. I mean, we got to roll with whatever happens and make the best of any situation. That is really the best way to live your life. Life can be chaotic. Life can be up and down. Life can be crazy. But if you learn how to adapt and learn how to make the best of any situation, you're going to do so well and thrive. It's a really big part of my design as a human being is to be able to react in the instance to make the right decision that'll make things really good, even in a bad situation. Yeah, that's something I got. And that's part of the reason why, in the era that's coming up, I'm actually in that cross, the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And the era of the sleeping phoenix starts in 2027 when if the world gets totally chaotic, people like me thrive because we are adaptable and we're ingenious with the moment and what is the right decision on an instant. That kind of stuff. You got to be very resourceful. Let's just say that. Yeah. Kaloy saying this exactly. So we are looking at suspension and maybe take back. Hang on, it jumped. I want to make sure I don't miss any. Exactly. So we're looking at suspension and maybe take back some picks. Either way, we have a fine squad as it is. Yeah, I don't think this is going to interfere with anything this year. I really, really don't. We'll just have to see for sure, though. And hopefully we'll have answers sooner than later. I hope that it all kind of gets figured out in the next week. But if it takes longer than that, we need to practice our patience further, is what I'm going to say. G's saying Banana Bread Tan, that will mess up having his birds rights, you get with the contract on the trade. Well, will we need the birds rights if Kawhi is just deciding to stay with us for the rest of his career anyway? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it sounds like he's doing. He said he wants to retire a Raptor and he wants to play the rest of his career with us. So the birds rights are only important if, I guess in some ways for discount too. You're right. Stargate saying this, has Jama worked with Darko previously? No, Jama is not one of the guys with Darko either. But the thing is with Jama, we brought Jama back because we wanted a Canadian coach on our team. in some ways. That's one of it. He wanted to come back, and yeah, but he really fit in with Darko. That's different. But Jama is not technically one of Darko's guys that from previous. He's a Raptor from previous. He was on our championship team. He was coaching with us then, and he's just got a great resume. We saw Jama in a couple places this week. We saw him on the video with Coach Evo, coaching the summer league guys in the first day of practice. He said, "Good, good, love it, love it, love it, cut, cut, love it, love it." And Jama comes into the ballroom and he says, "Coach, you're the coach, you're the coach." You know, making a big deal out of Evo being the summer league coach. That's awesome. But also, there's footage of Jama Mahalea at the Team Canada practice this past week because he is one of Gordon's few assistant coaches. Him and Nathaniel Mitchell and what's his name, the big man, Heno. He's they're the coaches. And well, Jama was running practice for SGA and Dylan Brooks and Kem Birch and them, and he was playing a shooting game where he had the old players like Kem against like young players, and they had a shooting game where there were 4 different goals, and the 4 different teams had to make shots, and the first team that got it got the points. And you got to see Jama's coaching style and how enthusiastic and energetic he is in that clip. If you haven't seen it, it's on our Discord server in the Team Canada tab. It's a fantastic kind of open gym clip I've never seen of Team Canada before. And it's awesome because you see a lot of Dylan Brooks and SGA and the rest of the guys behind the scenes and how they're working for Canada and what they're talking about. And you see some of what Gordon is doing as the coach, and Jama has a big part in it also. So I highly recommend the Team Canada Open Gym segment from practice that came out a few days ago. It came out a few days ago, and it kind of shows their lead up to the games against Puerto Rico and Jamaica this past week. Yeah, Carlo Kaloy saying this: Raptors already announced we are not taking Kawhi's penalties as it is, so they're going to wait. Yeah, yeah, and that's smart. It's like you don't blindly just say, yeah, whatever happens, we'll go ahead and take care of it. You know, in some ways, you got to wait to see what it is, and then you're kind of like, okay, yeah, we will do this, but we won't do this. You know, in some ways, you don't want to just make decisions blindly like that, and that's smart. That's smart. Some people are trying to say that the Raptors, like Steve Ballmer, is hardballing. He's saying the Raptors have to admit that they will take whatever penalties Kawhi has to take, and we won't do this deal. It sounds like Steve Ballmer, in some ways, is trying to shift some of the punishment off of him to us in a weird way as part of the deal. And well, Bobby can just say, no, fuck that. No, we're not going to do that, Steve. You're crazy. We're not going to do that. You know, so they got to wait and see what it all, the ramifications, the ruling, the judgment. And then, you know, we get to renegotiate to a certain extent the deal depending on what they decide. I think that's what I've heard, that's true. Yeah. So, yeah, Banana Bread Tan saying, what benefits do you think the Raptors will gain from the situation? Well, we talked about a few of them already. It could very well be that this situation is actually really good for the Raptors because it knocks off a couple of the picks that were in the deal originally. It could very well be that Bobby shows up with the Clippers people and says, you know what, this deal isn't as good anymore because of this thing that just happened. And we want to take back some of the picks we originally promised you on this because this is tainted. In some ways, this is like damaged. And we need to get compensation for the changes in this because of the aspiration decision. You know, that he could very well do that, meaning that we take back some of the picks that were in the original deal. Or, like we said before, you know, we could gain a benefit from Kawhi getting suspended and us getting under the salary cap because of this. So there's a couple of different ways this is going to actually really benefit us. If the contract gets voided and we have to renegotiate a new deal with them, there's all kinds of different ways this could be a benefit then too. You know, Isaac's here. Good to see Isaac Campbell, the benevolent one, holding it down in the nation's capital, Ottawa, for us. There's a restitution hearing for Aspiration co-founder Joseph Neil Stanberg that is officially scheduled for July 20th, 2026. Now, I don't know if that stuff has anything to do with what will happen with us. The Aspiration scandal itself, as far as the company being a sham and being a front and bilking not just the Clippers and Steve Ballmer and conning them, but celebrities. The whole story is crazy. They got a whole bunch of people. So it's a much bigger thing when you start talking about the aspiration scandal, the actual thing with the company and the tree company and how many people were affected and the rulings and already happened and stuff like that. So in some ways this is separate, Isaac. And in some ways this probably won't have any bearing on the timeline for what we need to do. So I don't think it's going to matter what that hearing does or anything because that's criminal court case, and that's the country, and that's the whole thing with the whole company. And in some ways, the sliver of the Clippers part with Kawhi is a small part of it. It's a whole bigger thing with celebrities that got stolen money from, just like Steve Ballmer. So I don't think this is going to have any bearing on the timeline for us and the Clippers and the deal. So July 20th doesn't mean shit to me, and I don't think this hearing will have anything to do with us because this is all about that other stuff, the bigger picture of the aspiration thing. Stargate's saying this: even if the trade is voided, Naranson, what the fuck name is that, man? Naranson is the type of guy who won't hold a grudge. You mean Brandon? Is that who you're talking about? Brandon Ingram? He loves it here and knows the fans love him here, so he would come back and play just fine. Brandon is an easygoing dude. Brandon is a kind of roll with the punches kind of guy. In some ways, I think that his style is to not make things worse from himself. It's like I was just saying, make the best out of situations no matter what they are. You know what? In some ways, he may be looking to God and saying, it's God's will, whatever happens in my path and where I'm going to go. And Grady's probably thinking the same thing, is I got to give it up to God. If God means that I got to be a Clipper or I got to go back and be a Raptor again, God is deciding this for me, and I'll do whatever God tells me. It's kind of probably the attitudes here. In some ways, once again, these guys have a very charmed life of millions of dollars in NBA playing. It's a privilege. It's not a given. And in some ways, even if they're high level players and they're in the league on their own merits and talent, they still got to look at it that way. It's like, I've got a spot. I just want to have a spot in this league. If I've got a spot on the Clippers, if I got a spot on the Raptors, I'm just very grateful to be here. God's grace. Thank you, God, so much for another day and being an NBA player. It's that kind of thought right there, you know. Shaq Lindsay saying Kawhi is money and Ed loves money. Yeah. Yeah, Kawhi's, a return of Kawhi Leonard is big time cash register noise. Oh, yeah. Cha-ching. Cha-ching. Think about all the memorabilia. Think about all the nostalgia. Think about all the lost fans in the last 7 years that went away from the bandwagon of the Raptors because of Tampa and losing. And all of a sudden they hear Kawhi Leonard's back. That's going to bring more people for ticket sales and just interest in the Raptors alone, because people know when Kawhi's here, it's a serious thing. We're seriously competing. And all the fair weather fans across the GTA are more likely to invest time and energy and money into the Raptors brand again, when they probably may be not doing anything with them for a few years because, like, yeah, the Raptors aren't good. The Raptors aren't this. Well, that's what this is right here, what Shaq Lindsay just said. That's right. That's right. Okay, you corrected it there, Brandon. Stargate saying this, and we know Glorilla would be okay. Either way, I mean, Glorilla, she's adaptable too. She's a very talented person that can work out of wherever. I mean, it may very well be that they are very happy to get designs on working out of LA and the possibilities for her there, and that they getting their hopes up and starting to build stuff there already. That's why this is so bad. In some ways, Grady Dick is literally in limbo right now. And so is Brandon Ingram. And it's just a weird feeling. In some ways, they want to know, where do I move? Am I going there or am I staying here? And in some ways, they should just stay at home for right now. And when the dust settles, then go somewhere from Kansas or North Carolina. That's the way you got to look at it right there. G saying, true, it may work out even better in that the penalties will now be used as leverage, and maybe Raptors keep picks or some other benefits. I know. That's the thing. If Bobby's a great negotiator, if the Clippers are in trouble and they're being forced to do shit, they can get fleeced. They can get fleeced. And, I would say retract some of the picks. Retract some of the picks, especially that pick swap that was described earlier, especially if we're going to be in penalty because Kawhi's not able to play for a section of the season this year. That's not what we agreed to in the initial agreement. And now that things have changed, we want to renegotiate slightly. Sorry, that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is. Stargate saying, I don't see Brandon holding a grudge. He would just take 2 tokes and go out there and play like nothing happened. He's a hooper. He just wants to play. Man's been hurt too much. And in some ways, there's no bad blood with us. It's all business. I don't think Brandon Ingram was like, I'm sure he was disappointed. And he was kind of like, oh man, a little bit feeling like stabbed in the back. But for the most part, he also understands this whole thing that is called the NBA. He really does understand it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong and it would be a whole mess. But I think that I'm probably right with my whole take, looking at it from the outside and trying to decipher it and figure it out. I don't think it's likely that Brandon is going to have to circle back. I think that the percent chance of the void of the trade and the trade not going through is very small. And that may be why James Dolan raised such a stink in the last week to get it to this point with this and this happening now. Because this is the thing. There are probably Eastern Conference people that are trying to stop Kawhi from joining our team. And this is a last-ditch attempt. You know what I'm saying? But Adam Silver don't want it to not happen. He wants it to happen. We want it to happen. The Clippers want it to happen. And Kawhi wants it to happen. So the principals involved in it want it to happen. But there may be people from other teams that are trying to get in the way and trying to throw speed bumps in the middle of it. I think that's what this is. Seriously, guys. The reason why it's a delay and why Pablo Torre's like, why did they wait and do it now? Because I think that other people in the league, once they saw what was happening with our roster and Kawhi with Scotty and Colin and Allen and RJ and Emmanuel, that they were like, oh, shit, that's too good. We got to try and stop this somehow. So they're making a big stink about aspiration all of a sudden. I think that's what it is right there. Kareem saying this, if my girl traded me for another man and then got well, this isn't the same thing. It's not relationships. And that got rescinded. I wouldn't be cool with that. There's no way you guys think people won't have feelings of ill will. Take Dalton Connect, for instance. He was mad. Yeah, but he still played for them. And he still fucking came back. And he's still on the team currently right now, right? What choice does he have? You know, it's one thing to be on Tinder and have a million different women you could date. There's only 30 teams in this league. And you can't get pissed off and be like that. If you do, you're probably going to be out of the league fast. Because if you burn bridges with teams, well, that's one less out of the very few that can employ you. So this is not a good analogy in this respect. Because first of all, there's no romantic feelings. There's no kind of jealous lover kind of shit. This is a player who wants to play, and the love is the game. And the game can be played in any city that has an NBA team. That's 30 teams. So, you know, if this is Love Island or something like that, well, you got 30 bachelors to choose from, and that's it. You know, you don't get a whole plethora where you can just discard them and say, fuck you for that. No, it's not the same thing. This is not a good analogy. Joe's 8764, thank you for the subscription and welcome to the Raptors Freak channel. I'm a Clippers fan and I go to op channels to hear different point of views. Props to your channels, man. I subscribe and fuck with your message. Dude, listen, if I was in your situation, I'm going to be very real, Joe. I would be pissed at the ownership. First of all, commend you for being a Clippers fan. This has been a long, hard odyssey. I don't know how old you are or how long you've been a Clippers fan. I mean, you could go way back to Elgin Baylor days, Danny Manning, Ken Norman, Benoit Benjamin, Gary Grant kind of era. You can go to Blake Griffin, Donald Sterling, Chris Paul mess. We saw the Doc Rivers documentary with Lawrence Fishburne and the stuff that they were showing about Donald Sterling and the racist piece of shit that he is. Y'all have been through so much. In some ways, I want this to come through unscathed for you guys because I do really love Brandon and Grady. And I'd love to see them get a new beginning with you guys to a degree. Steve Ballmer, I love his energy as an owner. I think that in some ways, if he could just be like Mark Cuban, but not be so shady underneath, and he could just be this enthusiastic, childlike owner that just loves his team, and that's the kind of owners we need. But man, it sucks that he has this shady ass shit underneath. You know, once again, and I'll say this, the fans are always the ones who get punished in some ways. You can look at Dallas and what happened with Luka and how they got punished for just bullshit. Clippers fans are going to get punished for this unfairly because they're just fans of their team. And if their team's run by crooked ass people, by racists, they get hurt for it. And that's not right. I appreciate your message, man. And that's interesting. I wouldn't have called this that we would have a Clippers fan in here watching me and trying to see the other perspective. I appreciate that, man. This is what we need more in this world, is people to seek out the other side of things and to understand that what other people are seeing. We're not really on other sides though. We're fans. We're on the same side. We love the NBA. We love watching basketball. We love watching good players play on our team. And we're in the same like that. We may root for different teams, but in some ways we are in the same boat as far as the whole ecosystem of the NBA, the commissioner, the owners, the players, and the teams. And in some ways, we're at their mercy to a degree as fans, that our owners won't be corrupt, that our owners won't be racist, that our owners will be doing things on the up and up and trying and be capable to run a team properly so that we actually have a good winning chance. Fortunately, up here in Toronto, in Canada, we've had a very good front office for 13 years now. A very, very astute, on top of it, making mostly good decisions front office with Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster. And I'd like to see this continue. I think that Clippers fan might even agree with me and say, yeah, you guys don't deserve any of this punishment at all if there is a punishment. As a Raptors fan, talking to you, Clippers fan, in some ways, Pablo Torre is annoying for bringing this all up, but also I'm glad that there is a justice voice out there to make things right. In some ways, if y'all don't get punished for this, it's going to look bad for the whole league, and it could hurt the league in the long run. So I do want the Clippers to get punished, but in some ways I don't want the fans to get punished because, like me, we didn't do anything wrong. And fans like you, Joe, in some ways you don't deserve this, man. You really don't. And I think that's part of it. I appreciate your subscription. And yeah, I hope you enjoy my channel. I talk mostly about the Raptors, the tempo, the Canadian Elite Basketball League, and Team Canada and what they're doing on their quest to the gold in the Olympics. But, basketball fans are basketball fans. And if you enjoy talking basketball, we'll definitely talk. And if you want to come in and talk about Kawhi in the future or talk about things with your players that you get from us with Ingram and Dick, I'd be more than happy to talk about those guys with you if you come into our chat in the future. I read all the comments. And I appreciate you, Joe. I really do. W for Joe. That's right, Isaac. You want to give him a dunk, Isaac? Let's give him a dunk. Why not? Joe, Clipper fan Joe, you're going in the Raptor Freak dunk chart, which means it's a points for doing something awesome in the chat. And Joe, I'm going to call you Joe Clipper, just as so we know that you're the Clipper fan. You're getting a 3-pointer there. You got Notorious BI3. That's right. You got the Notorious BI3. I don't know if he's going to wear 4 or 3 with you guys. He may wear 4 because you're the 4th team he's going to play for. He wore 3 in Toronto because we're the 3rd team he played for. And it fell into that awesome nickname, the Notorious BI3. Yeah, maybe you'll get BI3 because 3, that's a cool nickname, the Notorious BI3. That's such a cool nickname. All right, let's keep going. Fiercey is saying, welcome the stream to Joe, too. Yeah. Stargate saying this, Jacoby can more than fill in the starting lineup if Kawhi can't play. Either way, we good. Yeah, I wouldn't even pick him first. I wouldn't. I would pick Colin first. I'd put Colin out there. I'd start Emmanuel and RJ in the backcourt with Scotty and Colin at forward and Jakob at center. Yeah. Jacoby, he's a backup for guard. He's a backup for RJ. In some ways, in that scenario, if Kawhi's out and not available, RJ is the driver. RJ is the number 1 scorer. He has been the last 2 years. And he other than Brandon, RJ's been the auxiliary backup scorer when people are missing. He comes over and takes it over and does what he needs to. So he would be doing that role like Kyle Lowry did in 2019 when Kawhi was load managed. Is RJ is the primary scorer when Leonard is out. I think that that's just right and just. He's the most proven, and he's up for the task. We know he is. So, but Jacoby will get his spots. He's more a fill-in if RJ's out, is what I would think. I mean, that's really how I look at it. You got your starters, and then the backup teams, Jamal Shed for Emmanuel quickly, just in case. Jacoby for RJ. Colin for either Scotty or Kawhi, or even Yak, I would say. If any of those 3 guys are out, Colin's in the starting lineup. Because, a lot of people want Colin to be a starter anyway, but he could be the fill-in replacement for any of those front court guys, including Kawhi. And I don't think any of the other guys are proper to get jumped into the starting lineup. Just Shed, Walter, and Murray-Boyles. There's no Mamu this year right now. And maybe Graves will show something. He'll get some spot starts here and there. That's the way I've been looking at it right there. That's right. Shaq Lindsay saying Raptors are in the driver's seat. Kawhi is a creature of habit. He's not going to switch. We're the only team he wanted to go to. So even if his contract is voided and he becomes a free agent, we will sign him. We will end up getting him in the end. Minimum deal or 60 million extension. Clippers have no choice but to follow through with the deal, even if it's renegotiated. Once again, there is speculation that Adam Silver on the download is secretly making amends and retribution for us for being tampered with by Lawrence Frank in 2019. That in some ways, that's why this is the only choice. But I think also there is a strong case that Kawhi would actually want this to be the only place he'd want to be. Our medical staff is top notch, and that is important for Kawhi, obviously. Is very, very important. And he also does truly believe our team is very good and can compete at the highest level. And that is important to him too. Because let's not get it twisted. The clock's there. He's 35 years old now. He's wanting to still get another ring because in some ways he has all the motivation in the world. In fact, he has way more motivation than Kevin Durant or LeBron James to an extent as his peers because he's got it in the tank to do it. First of all, he's playing like that last year. You know, Clippers fan Joe could tell us that Kawhi was badass last year and he's not missed a step. That you know, it'll look real good if he gets a third chip and finally like has a little bit more luster from that instead of the bag that he's been hung with. Like he's always hurt, he's always out, and in some ways he's been wasting his career. You know, that's what I'm saying. He's trying to go on a redemption tour in Toronto. That's what it is. He's redeeming himself for turning his back on us with a decision, and he's redeeming himself in his career and his legacy to try and make something with it before time runs out. So that's why I think he's really motivated. I don't think it's likely that he wants to just take money and sit around. I think he really does want to go for it. And the path to do it here in Toronto has been proven that he can because he did it before. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. If we're talking about the motivations of Leonard, if we're talking about what is in it for him, well, I just explained it right there. And yeah, the money is part of it too. Of course, the money is part of it too. Yeah, let's see. Chloe's saying, honestly, man, I've been holding back saying the team was better without Ingram last year. It was more 0.5 without the ISO. So if we start this year without Kawhi, then I think we're fine. We were on the superstar Scotty timeline. Everyone forgets. Kawhi is just sprinkles, championship sprinkles. Scotty was so awesome in the Sacramento game last night cheering for Mobo. Yeah, I mean, that friendship's never going to die. Those kids sat in PJs watching cartoons, eating junk food in the living room when they're little kids. You know, he's always going to be a big fan of his best friend, J-Mo. And well, it's just showing that. In some ways, it's kind of cool. It's actually good in some ways that Jonathan's gone. I know that he had detractors in Raptors Nation that didn't think he was worth a roster spot. In some ways, it's a good thing for him because he can prove I belong in this league, and it's not just because I'm Scotty's friend. I'm on the Kings, and they want me on their team. And, you know, that goes a long way with making yourself a bona fide NBA player and not just an Antetokounmpo brother. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a little bit of that label going on J-Mo that, you know, you're only in the league because you're Scotty's best friend. Well, he can go there now out of Scotty's shadow, nothing to do with Sacramento Kings. And if he can prove himself and get on that roster this year and kick some major ass for the Kings, well, that's his own doing. And Scotty had nothing to do with it. So in some ways, this is a good, healthy thing. And of course, their friendship's going to be strong. And you know what? I don't think Scotty's upset about Jonathan leaving. This was something I was bracing for, possibly, is when the Raptors say hasta la vista to Mobo, what is Scotty going to be like? Is he going to be upset? No, he's going to see the whole big picture as a player in the NBA, a mature guy who can see the whole big picture. And once again, Scotty can just look and thank God that he had 2 years with his best friend on the same team with him. And those memories will always last. So, yeah, it was really nice to see him there, man. Really nice to see him there. I think that your other point, Kaloy, about the Raptors being able to play without Kawhi at times is exactly right. Exactly right. I wouldn't demean Kawhi to say he's just the sprinkles on top. No, he's going to be a main engine that we ride behind as he pulls the rest of the team. But on nights where he is not available, you know, it won't be such a skeleton crew we will be able to handle ourselves when he may not be able to be on the court every night. And that was proven in 2019 when we had the Kyle Lowry and all them, Pascal and OG and Fred and Norm. Yeah, we were able to do that then. And I feel like we can do that again now at this point. And I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah. Let's see. Also, Stargate is saying this. Brad Pitt also got by Aspiration. That's right. They conned Brad Pitt out of money in that tree scheme. I think another one was Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick, his wife, that husband and wife team of actors, Kevin Bacon. Yeah, how many degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon is the Aspiration deal? 1 degree. He's one of the people who got conned. A lot of people got conned by them. You know what I'm saying? Even Drake, I think. I don't know if Drake got conned, but maybe he did. Maybe he did. I don't know. I think the agent is going to get fucked in this situation. They're going to get banned for life. They're going to send a message, and agents are expendable. Oh, for sure, that agent's never going to work in the NBA ever again. That Mitch guy, never, ever again. I wonder if they limit the fallout on the Clippers front office to Dennis Wong. If they say, Dennis, you were the one who was the main driver of all this. Your name is in all the paperwork. I'm sorry, but you cannot be involved in the Clippers ever again. You're banned for life too. That's what I'm saying. It could very well be the lieutenants, not the ones in charge that get hit with this, whether it's Uncle Dennis and Kawhi's camp, whether it's Dennis Wong and Steve Ballmer's camp. Dennis's are going down, is what it seems like right now. The Dennis's. The Dennis's. Seymour's saying this. Salute, gang. Once again, we got fleeced. Thank you, stateside. No surprise. We didn't get fleeced. What is this crap? What are you talking about? Watch the whole show. Don't fall for perception. I know you're out in the middle of that crazy ass province with a separatist movement where there's all kinds of misinformation and crazy news flying around out there, tainting people's minds with all kinds of crazy ideas, making them all more worried and scared and agitated, gaslighting everybody. No, we didn't get fleeced. Nothing's done yet, Seymour. Nothing's decided. Yesterday was a nothing burger. Everybody's falling out about just an announcement. And, well, it's the right announcement. Let's go ahead and get this shit over and done with. And we'll see how the fallout happens. But don't declare us getting fleeced. We didn't get fleeced. Nothing's been decided. We got to find out afterwards. If we got fleeced somehow, oh, sure, I'll be calling out on this channel. But for the most part, I would say right now, this is all a to-do about nothing. And Seymour, don't fall for it. Seriously. Don't fall for it. Kaloy's saying, nah, Seymour, we're good. We're in the driver's seat. He's exactly right. Kaloy's right. Bobby's an opportunist. He's smart. He's going to figure this out. And this is going to work out for us in the end. Watch. It's going to work out. KT saying, at the end of the day, I think some heavy fines to Kawhi and the Clippers. Yeah, heavy fines. Because you can't just come at Steve Ballmer with hundreds of thousands or millions. Bro, find that motherfucker $1 billion and see if it hurts him enough so that he learns his lesson. Seriously. In some ways, this is a situation that is symbolic of some of the bigger issues in society right now with billionaires and whether they're untouchable and whether they can get away with whatever the fuck they want to do, like murdering girls and burying them in a golf course because they're a pedophile and they raped them. Yeah, Robin Leach and Donald Trump, you motherfuckers. We got to see if this world still has accountability. And in some ways, the Clippers need to find accountability for wrongdoing of circumventing the cap. If the smoking gun is there, if the evidence is all there because Pablo Torre got it all together, well, for the good of the league and to deter anybody else from doing this bullshit, they need to be punished. It's just like an insurrection on January the 6th. Shit should have been punished, and it wasn't. Well, we see where we are now with the American government. That's the thing. If you don't punish people correctly for their wrongdoing, others will be encouraged to do the same wrongdoing and even worse. And that's what's happened with the American government without people fucking coming at the people who were responsible for January 6th. And now you got an orange pedophile in the office running the country as a criminal in chief, stealing the taxpayers' money left and right in all kinds of grifts and scams. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got to have justice in this world. And, well, the billionaires don't think they got to play by the rules. And, well, the people got to come together, get over their differences, and understand the subterfuge and gaslighting they give us to divide us and stop falling for that shit and understand who the real problems are. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Steve Ballmer's a bad dude as a person. He's probably a really fun, cool guy, but he tried to go around the rules and he broke the rules and he needs to be punished because who's to say he does this, he gets away with it. Who the fuck is going to do this next around the league? And then how is this league even a good, competitive, fair league after that? That's why this has to be done for the healthiness of the ecosystem of the NBA. That's right. And in some ways, is a microcosm and symbolic of the whole big picture of what we will allow people with a lot of money to get away with. That's what I'm saying right here. That's what I'm saying right here. This shit is important because we want justice. We want justice. We want fairness. We want things right. That's right. Smooth saying this. Yeah, the deal is going through regardless. My thinking is that the draft compensation gets returned to the Raptors and it's 2-for-1 trade. I would like this. I mean, maybe you take 1 first and 1 second off the deal and you only get 1 first and 1 second and maybe the pick swap. You know, that's for Bobby in the finer tuning of things to figure out. That right there. That right there. And the Clippers trying to make things even weirder by having a third team involved and all this other bullshit. In some ways, I look at that as just more subterfuge and confusing shit, just to blur the whole thing, just so they can mudsling some of their guilt onto other places, is what I think. So it's just distraction. It's all the shit that Trump is doing just to stop people from talking about Epstein files. That kind of shit. That kind of shit. Yeah. Let's see. The voiding of his contract and signing with the Raptors regardless, that's too good to be true, unfortunately. Well, we'll just have to see how it all happens, and each step will react, and we'll see what the ultimate outcome is. And thank God this is the middle of the summer, and this shit isn't happening in September. That would be really bad. That would be really bad. Seymour saying Lex sounded like a salesman trying to pitch Ingram, the Clippers fan. No, he's great. Seriously. I mean, look, when they were looking around for deals, it's probably true that Brandon Ingram was probably the best player available in return for Kawhi. He, on some certain level, can do some of the stuff Kawhi can do, just not as the most dependable and the highest pressurized Kawhi. But we know Brandon can win games, and he can definitely take over games, and he is still one of the best offensive players in the league to a certain extent. Because he's better than Durant. He's got a lot of Durant skills. So there's a lot to like about having Brandon Ingram on here. And yeah, sure, I'll sell him because honestly, I love Brandon. Brandon gave me a ticket to go to a Raptors game last year, and I sat on his ticket in the friendly and fan section. I want to speak him up forever. He's an amazing guy, and honestly, he's a good player. And I'm so glad he reclaimed his health in Toronto, reclaimed being an all-star. And I wish him well. In some ways, I would have been fine going forward with him, but we could upgrade that with getting Leonard. We have to take that opportunity, and it's a business, and this is how it is. But no, Brandon Ingram's a fantastic player, and he's healthy. When he's healthy, I mean, he had that surgery at the end of the year, and I don't know the updates on how he's healing and what's going on, but he should be all right. And who knows if they're going to flip him again and trade him to another team? I don't know what the Clippers going to do. But I would be very happy if I was a Clippers fan and Brandon Ingram was on my team because I was very happy to have him on the Raptors last year. That's for sure. That's right. Kaloy's laughing. Isaac's saying, don't worry, guys. If another billionaire comes out unscathed, then it will be business as usual. That's where we're getting jaded on this. That's where we're getting jaded on this. And in some ways, Adam Silver is protecting the billionaires. He's not protecting the NBA. And that should be his first priority, is protecting the NBA. Because the whole kit and caboodle could go up in smoke, and then the billionaires don't have the money to make off of it. So it's really dumb. It's really, really dumb. I think that once again, the power of 10, 15, 20 billionaires in a room against one billionaire will show its power then. And that's why the Board of Governors meeting on Tuesday is where the power will be figured out, because those guys will be like, yeah, you can't do this. This is horrible for the league. And we want to punish you, Steve. You're a peer to us, and we're coming at you, and we're voting, and we've got 30 owners here, and there's 26 of us that are voting against you, and this is what we want you to be punished with. I think that's how it gets sorted out. In some ways, it's not by a court of public opinion. It's not by the court of journalists and fucking shit they're writing. It's not about law enforcement in this case. It's about the billionaires policing the billionaires at the Board of Governors meeting and saying, Steve, you were really wrong for this, and this is what we have to do. Remember, These are the same owners that voted to get racist ass Donald Sterling out. So there is some power in the board of governors. And thank God Larry Tannenbaum's been one of their strongest leaders over the last couple decades. So, that's what I'm going to say right there. Kawhi's saying this. Hey, good. One good thing is we were speculating that Kawhi choosing Raptors was part of some sort of shady backroom deal. Now with all this, we see that Kawhi's interest in Raptors is genuine. It still could be that Adam Silver said, yeah, you need to send him back to Toronto. But it probably doesn't matter either way. That it's a non-factor in determining all this. Kawhi's bought in. Kawhi showed up. This is the other thing. Kawhi showing up for Lowry's retirement ceremony shows his personal commitment to wanting to be in Toronto. That man wouldn't have showed up and sat there if he wasn't really trying to be a Raptor right now. So in some ways, that was a really smart thing that Kawhi was at Kyle's ceremony this week, because it really does show intent. It shows intent. And it gives us, the fans, a little bit of the question mark filled in on the enigma that is Kawhi Leonard. What is he thinking? If he doesn't go there, there's a lot more questions we could have about what the fuck is going on with him. So Kawhi being at the Kyle Lowry press conference, it really fills in some of the answers. And that's good. That is good right there. That is good right there. That's right. Let's see. Kareem saying, no way his contract's getting voided. Players union won't allow that shit. Fred is about players and their money. You're right. And he's personally, I know that him and Kawhi aren't totally friends. They're not close. In fact, Fred told a funny story about Kawhi on his podcast recently. He had Patrick Beverley on recently for an episode. Check it out. It's a good episode. And they were talking about when Kawhi showed up, and the team concept was for him to pass it around Fred as the point guard and get everybody involved. That's what Nick Nurse wanted. And Fred was doing what Nick wanted, but Kawhi was superseding Nick and saying, fuck that shit. Just give me the fucking ball, man. And he cussed Fred out. He doesn't really talk to those guys very much. In fact, Fred said, I can probably count on one hand the amount of conversations I've had with Kawhi Leonard in my life. He really is a weird enigma, but he remembered this day because Kawhi got really pissed at Fred for disregarding him calling for the ball and wanting the ball. And he went off on Fred. They had a bit of a conflict. Fred was trying to do what the coach wanted in the coach system. And Kawhi's like, fuck that. I'm Kawhi. I can go get the ball and score. When I am calling for the ball, you give me the fucking ball. So they had a misunderstanding. And they talked about it and they got it sorted out. But yeah, Fred was telling this story and he said, man, Kawhi was pissed at him. Kawhi was pissed at Fred because he didn't trust him. And he said, you need to give me the ball when I want it. Just trust me. And well, people started deciding that and figuring that out, especially on that playoff run. And they saw what he did to Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Golden State. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff there. The relationship between Fred and Kawhi, because I asked Fred personally when I saw him in person in Kensington Market in August of 2018, have you met Kawhi Leonard yet? This is after the trade. He said, I've never met Kawhi. I have not met him yet. And this was in August of 2018. But then Fred's on record for saying when we showed up in training camp and Kawhi was there was a buzz. We really felt like we could win a championship that year, right from the start of the year in training camp. Well, I'm hoping that buzz is present in training camp this year with Kawhi coming in and Scotty Barnes and all them feeling it too. That's what I'm saying right there. That's right. Reggie's saying maybe the 5th pick gets sent back to the Pacers as well. Who knows? I mean, that's really up to Adam Silver, the owners, to figure out how they want to punish the Clippers. And, I don't know, that Zubac trade you're talking about with that and trying to change things with that. I don't know. Are they really been done harm? Like the Pacers have been done harm by the Clippers? Like we were? No, because the Clippers literally broke the rules to entice Kawhi Leonard to come to their team in the first place. And he was, online to come back and try and repeat with us. And in some ways that was fucked up. And in some ways we did have something done wrong to us because they used illegal means to entice Kawhi to come back to LA or come to LA. That's what I'm saying right there. Banana Bread Tan saying quickly, RJ, Scotty, Colin, Pirtle is still a playoff team. maybe a number 5 or number 6 in the East, but it's still a playoff team. Yeah, some people were questioning that. If we lose Kawhi for 50 games, will we still make the playoffs? You idiots. You doubt our guys other than Kawhi? Seriously, no, we're a very powerful team regardless, even without Brandon or Kawhi. And yeah, that pissed me off when I seen Raptors fans doubting whether we could still be a playoff team with or without Kawhi or Brandon. I think we still could because we have a very good team. We have a very good team. It's deep. That's what I'm saying. Banana Bread saying, man, we really need Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. Those guys are so old. So old. In fact, we don't know how old Serge is. Nobody knows. But Mark is way beyond retirement. There's no way Mark, first of all, Serge, there's an outside chance because he looks like he could still play. But once again, out of all these former Raptors that we've been talking about recently, Lowry's retired. He's not coming back. DeMar DeRozan's not realistic. Jonas is the one that I would say is the most realistic. But that only is contingent on Valanciunas taking a huge pay cut and coming here and playing for nothing. That's the only way that works. He's the only one that I see that makes sense. Ibaka's too far out of the game. Gasol's been in Spain for like 5 years, guy. Gasol's been back in Spain for like 5 years now. Come on now. Reggie's saying this. The only way you really hurt a team is by removing draft capital over a number of years. That's the only way. Not the only way, but the way that others notice. And they should do this. In fact, maybe that's part of the reason why Steve Ballmer was trying to get so much draft capital from us to soften the blow of the ultimate like problem that's going to happen. Now, people are thinking that if they get their picks taken away from them, that we just automatically get them reverted. That's not how it works. No, what happens is their picks go dead and they just don't get them. They just don't get them. That's how it works. There's less picks in the draft. It doesn't mean that the pick comes back to the team that originally traded or anything. They just get their picks taken and say, you don't get to pick a player that. You don't get the ability to acquire more talent at that position in the draft anymore because you screwed up. And I think that Smooth's right. This is one of the best ways to penalize a team where it means something and they really feel it. They really, really feel it, you know. Let's see. Kenne's here. Good to see original Raptor Freak Kenne. Grange's tweet gave me hope when he said, if all else falls out, Kawhi will choose us as a free agent. We got 2 7-footers in Summer League. Yes, we have 3 7-footers in Summer League. 7'5" Jamarian Sharp, 7-foot Nate Biddle, and 7-foot Aziz Banadongo. So there's 3 7-footers on the roster for tonight's game against the Boston Celtics. That's right, Kenny. That's right. Stargate saying, Seymour, call in. I think Lex misunderstood your fleece comment. I don't know. He said that he thought that we got fleeced. If Seymour can call in, he's more than welcome to call in, man. He's going to call in, yeah. Seymour's saying, Lex, if you don't like people from out west because they are out west, that's sad, man. I have no clue what you're talking about. Where are my people saying what? No, what I'm saying is, listen, Seymour, and you've talked about this yourself, and I'm not dissing you. I'm not dissing people out west. I'm saying that there is a very much a CIA operation in your province to try and get y'all to separate yourself from Canada. And there's all kinds of misinformation in your publicity, in your news, and all kinds of nefarious shit. In fact, you've told me at points that some of the stuff you hear out there is different than what we hear in Toronto. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. So I can only guess what the takes are on this whole thing with the Raptors and the Clippers in the province of Alberta. There's a lens of the news around there. You have to understand. And that there's weaponizing news against people and shaping their minds and perceptions by what they want you to think, and especially in your province. That's what I'm talking about. I feel bad for y'all out there because much like people in the United States are not getting the news correctly at all because the mainstream media is bought and paid for by billionaire oligarchs, there's literally a covert operation going on in your province to shape minds to want to separate yourself from Canada. That's what I'm talking about, Seymour. In some ways, I wish God's goodness for everybody out west in Calgary. It's not that. I've never been there. I'm just saying that you have to understand that there's forces out there that are attaining information in your ecosystem in that province, and that's what I was alluding to. That's what I was alluding to, because you came in with a negative connotation about the whole thing, saying that you think we're getting fleeced. And I immediately start thinking, well, they must be having some fucked up news media out in Calgary about this story right now. That's what it is right there, Seymour. I hope that helps elaborate or clarify the whole thing right here. It's not anything against people out west. I have the thing against the separatist movement, Danielle Smith, and the illegal Canadian the things that are happening with the 51st state bullshit and all that rhetoric, and the US trying to fuck with Canada through the politics of Alberta. That's what I'm talking about. And that can be extended to all kinds of different subjects in weird ways, like how they're portraying the Caitlin Clark situation with the WNBA or the Clippers and Raptors trade right now. Who knows how they're saying it to you in the news? They could have some really fucked up sportscaster on Calgary News who's portraying it and lying and gaslighting to y'all and making it sound way worse, that you may have a perception that Bobby Webster's getting fleeced right now. That's my whole thing right there. Is that it? Does that explain it right there? That's what I'm talking about. Chloe's saying, nah, Alex, this is the same thing Ballmer did with Microsoft. They bullied and bought out small companies in competition. And Ballmer did this with his son's college team as well. This guy buys out everyone. His image publicly is like, I'm a fun guy. I just want to have fun at my games and watch my sports. But he's ruthless and cutthroat behind the scenes and total asshole. That's probably true. That's probably true. And thank you, Kaloy, for illuminating that side of Steve Ballmer. Seymour saying, I don't trust stateside at all. Why report the voided trade days and days later from the first report that it was a disrespectful tease? The trade is not voided. That's the thing. It's on hold. It's still going to happen. It's just that they have to come to a conclusion on the Aspiration scandal and the punishments that are going to be handed out to people. And the trade's not voided. And as everybody's saying, like Grange said, everybody expects the trade to go through. Some of this is very important that we get the words right on what's happening here, because words can confuse. And we have to make sure we're saying the exact right word. The trade is on hold right now. The trade is not voided. That is a whole different kind of thing, okay? So they're not reporting that the trade got voided. We got to make sure we sort this all out, because in the words, there can be misinformation and perception problems, is what I'm saying, okay? That's my main thing I'm trying to do today, is answer y'all's questions on this situation so that you can understand it clearly, so that you have the right facts and the right real things that are happening, because a lot of people are trying to misguide people and misrepresent this situation. And in some ways, they're trying to make us look bad when we didn't do anything wrong. And that's part of it right there, too. Stargate saying this, keep the draft picks and give us back Brandon. Yeah, I don't know if that is possible. And that I don't know how that works with our salary cap. I don't think that works, right? It's not realistic. Seymour saying, okay, I'm back. So Lex, what you're saying is based on political views and misinformation. What I say is misleading news. Laugh out loud. Okay, I'll keep my 2 cents to myself. I truly hate politics. Yeah, unfortunately, you live in a hotbed of political strife in the country of Canada right now. You're living in like what Quebec was like with the separatist movement. It's the same thing. And in some ways, you got to understand there's so much bullshit being thrown at you guys in that province in particular. And a lot of it is coming from stateside forces that are trying to shape minds and trying to taint people into thinking that they don't want to be a part of Canada anymore. So that's why I said that. And hopefully that elaborates. If you have any more questions about what I'm saying, because you think that I'm saying something wrong or something, please let me know, because I love clearing things up. And it's not anything personal against any people. It's about the news and the information and possibly things that are going on around your province, because there's definitely different news you're getting. That's what we have to understand. There's news in different places. The news in Florida is way different than the news in New York. The news in Alberta is way different than the news in Toronto. And, it may be that there's, people being paid to be misleading by very rich and powerful people. And that's part of it. We got to understand. Stargate saying Jonas would make sense. Raptors need a backup center. Exactly. That's a position we need, and he would fill it. Would that be something, though? Wouldn't that be something? Jonas being Yak's backup. Talk about reversal of roles. I know that's kind of cool. is because, you know, when Jonas came in, when Jakob came in, he was Jonas's rookie and backup. And well, it's older. You know, Jonas is near the end of his career and Jakob's the starting center. So Jonas would be the backup for Jakob this time. So yeah, this is some really nice and tidy of that. But I'm not holding my breath that Valanciunas will be in the league in the first place. I think he's going back to Europe still. But it would be nice to revisit him here in Toronto. And that one would make sense if it could happen because Jonas would be a fantastic backup big for the Raptors and the team we have right now. You guys know that's true. You can hear it when I just said it. Banana Bread Tansen, I lived 10 years in Alberta and most of my life in Ontario. Even as a Black immigrant, I really liked Alberta. There are more personal freedoms, conscious as a culture, and I prefer that. You know, I don't know because I've never been there, but I do know that there definitely is some weird stuff going on there now, Banana Bread Tan. So I don't know if it's changed since you left. It could very well be the stuff that you're describing is fine, but there is a lot of malfeasance and misrepresentation and gaslighting going on in the province of Alberta right now. And it's not any of the innocent people's fault. It's just that there's people out there trying to shape minds to do things that aren't good for them. And that's the US too, and a kit and caboodle altogether. There's a lot of people shaping minds down there for wanting to support things that are actually horrible for themselves. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Cool, cool. All right, so you got it. You're cool with me. I'm glad you asked me to elaborate. I have no problem. I have a lot of family out west. I have a huge part of my family in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. So, and I have family in BC. I don't have anybody in Alberta specifically, but I do have prairie people. There's small town people in my family. And I have spent time out in a small town in Manitoba called Souris, which only has 2,000 people. And I've learned that life where the land is so flat, you can see for miles and miles. So I have that aspect in my life of knowing Western Canada to a degree, but it only goes as far as Regina, that I really have gone that far west in some things. I haven't gone all the way to Alberta. So I can't say from personal experience, but I can from the other places there. KT saying, I'm Black and I want to move to PEI and become the mayor like Blazing Saddles. You know, this is the thing that's kind of lost in the history of Canada. There's a very strong history of Black people in the Maritimes. Do you guys know that the Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson, is from the Maritimes? Yeah, he's a man from Eastern Canada. Rocky Soulman Johnson is definitely an example of an Eastern Canadian Black who there's a vast history of immigrants that came to that part of Canada, and there's a rich history of Black people in the Maritimes. You don't talk about it. People don't bring it up very much. Sure, there's racist problems out there, sure, especially with natives. But you know, there is a vast, rich cultural history of Black people being in the Maritimes. So being in PEI wouldn't be that weird because there's actually a lot of ancestry there. And you might be shocked, man. You might be shocked about that. Seriously. So yeah, go ahead. You'd be like the Rock's dad. I think he's from Halifax or something like that. He's from one of the smaller provinces out in the east. The Rocky Johnson was from out there, and that's the Canadian side of the Rock's family. They're not from Ontario. They're from the Maritimes. The Rock's family is from the Maritimes. Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying right there. Yeah, Banana Bread Tan saying, no, we need a Gasol type and a Baca type, I meant. Well, what is Valanciunas? I know we traded Valanciunas for Gasol, but Valanciunas is Gasol now, right? Gasol's not coming back. Yeah, I'd like Jonas come back, man. In some ways, that'd be a nice redemption story. We win another ring this year with Kawhi, and Jakob and Jonas get rings this time because they missed out on the first one. That's right. That's what I'm saying. Seymour saying, no, it's all good, Lex. And you're right. We are fed different news sources for sure. But I think it's cool when we go over both sides and make the right decisions. Well, both sideisms is not the right idea at this point. Really, there's a fight in this world, and it's for what's justice and right for all of us. Because look, they'll taint it and say there's two sides to the argument. No, there isn't. There never was. It's the same thing as MSG saying a couple years ago that both sides are wrong, the left and the right. That's bullshit. The left wants to give rights to everyone, including trans people, and the right wants to take all of our rights away. That's as evident as clear as day at this point. The right can be acting like this is for freedoms and choice and stuff like that. Like Banana Bread Tan says, that's a fucking veneer that's very shallow and thin. They want to take our rights away. They want to have a surveillance state. They want to imprison people for no reason, like they're doing with ICE right now. That is the right wing political movement. And if you say both sides are the same, that's bullshit. Sure, the liberals are idiots and they have corruption scandals, but left leaning ideals are for justice for everybody and the ability to have freedom to live as yourself and to live free and happy. And that's why when you say both sides, I don't like that, because honestly, there's only really one side at this point that's right, because one side is fascist, Nazi leaning, racist, trying to control all of us, trying to have a prison state, trying to build more prisons to put us in, trying to build a surveillance state. And that's the right wing side. The left wing side is against it. The left wing is Antifa. The left wing is the side that is going to fight for the people and stand with the people and get all the people united against all their differences and be on the right side of things. So let's not do two-sided shit anymore. There's either you're on the side of the people and freedom and the justice for all of us to have a free society in the future, or you're on the side that's really wants to come down and make everybody have every moment of their lives watched, and they're going to dictate to us on religious values, social values, what we can and can't do more and more in the years to come. And that's the scary future that I see that I don't want. We have to stand up and say, no, the billionaires don't run the world. It's still a democracy. We still believe in us having voices of freedom and votes and deciding things, because that's the fight right there, guys. That's the fight. And you can fall for this bullshit. I hate the liberals. I hate the Democrats. Yeah, sure. Both those parties suck, but they've been hollow straw men that were only there as a fake front to act like there's opposition. No, the real people are the people. And we need to get behind progressive grassroots movements and leaders that are not politically affiliated, like the mayor of New York, like the parties and the people that are actually coming up and talking about the problems and wanting to solve them. There's a lot of people out there that are bought and paid for that want to just go into this new surveillance state future where we could all get in prison for just how we think, guys. So you can tell me, yeah, you want to see both sides. Well, there won't be one side if you let that one side be in charge. They'll only command us to think what they want us to think. And we won't have any freedoms at that point. In fact, it's already happening in the United States. They're taking people for no reason off the streets and imprisoning them without any charges. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. That's what the fight is. It's not about looking at both sides, because it's very clear what the sides are. And if you're on one side, you're with the Nazis, you're with the pedophiles, you're with the scammers, the grifters, the oligarch kleptocrats. That's who you want to be with. You go be with them. Or we can be with the families, the old people, the disabled, the people that are living in the streets, the people that are losing their jobs, the people that are losing their health care, the people that are not having children because they know it's not economically feasible in their lives. Whose fucking side do you want to be on? Because those are the only two sides I see. We can divide it on trans. We can divide it on this immigration. We can divide it on all these other bullshit distraction things. But the ultimate thing right here is about freedom. It's about democracy. It's about the ability for your children and your offspring, decades after you're gone, to not live in a world that's a prison state where they're fucking being watched by cameras everywhere they go. And if they step out of line in the littlest way by the people that are making all the rules, they go and get incarcerated. That's what we're staring at right now. So let's not get it twisted. That's what we're fighting, and that's what we're up against. And y'all can fall for the political labels, but I really look at it this is the people against the power. And the people have to assume the power again and show them that we have the biggest muscles. That's what it is right there. That's what it is right there. And it's not necessarily about hearing two sides, because honestly, I've heard the other side, and it's full of racism. It's full of Nazi jargon. It's full of hate towards immigrants and people of color and people that are trans or gay or lesbian. Yeah, those are two sides. Either you're with all of us as the populace, as the people who are being subjugated to the bullshit, or you're going to be just a toady like ICE for the fucking very rich and the bullshit they're trying to do. That's it. That's it right there. It's not about right and left. It's not about Democrat and Republican. It's not about conservative and liberal. It's about whether you want to have freedom and justice and a society that's good for your offspring in the future, or you want to go into more of a surveillance state by them controlling everything. It's as simple as that right there. It's as simple as that. I was just saying, warehouse dunk for Seymour. Yeah, we can give Seymour a dunk for sure. For sure. I wonder if he can dunk on that goal at the warehouse. Does he lower it and he starts doing like his NBA All-Star weekend? I'm Vince Carter in Oakland, and he's throwing it down. He's doing all the dunks that Vince did somehow, some way on there. All right, Seymour, you're at 75. Fantastic. 75 years of the NBA. 75 years, 75 dunks for Seymour. That's right. Seymour saying, I love Ontario and I really love Alberta. Two different vibes. But I'm not dissing Alberta. I mean, the Premier does make y'all look bad. Let's just put it that way. And, I would like to think that the majority of Albertans are very happy being in Canada, and that this is a very small vocal minority that's making a big shit about separating. And that, well, a small vocal minority should not be able to decide everything for the majority, right? That's the fight that you have there. And, I put all my power and respect towards the tribes and the treaties and the indigenous people that are fighting any kind of secession or any kind of thing like that, because in some ways they're the ones who are really the gatekeepers of the land and the world out there. In some ways, that's what we got to look at that way. Yeah. Let's see. Kareem, you can do it. All right. Let's see. Shaq Lindsay saying, Bobby in the driver's seat, take away those picks for the pain and suffering. Do an Uncle Dennis, but legally, Bobby, do them dirty like they did us during the 2019 season. Well, it does seem like things are evening out for that injustice in 2019 now. We'll just have to see the fallout. That's it. Kareem saying, do they got Denny's out there? Once again, Kareem is infatuated with a restaurant that's notorious for racial profiling and treating treating people badly, especially in Tallahassee, the city I grew up in Florida. The Denny's was protested by the FAMU Rattlers, the university, and boycotted by black people in Tallahassee because the Denny's in Tallahassee wasn't serving black people at a certain point, refusing them at the door. So you go ahead, have an infatuation with a company that absolutely had a racial controversy years back. And in some ways, people in Florida do not still eat at Denny's because of the history of them being discriminatory towards people of color. And I don't know if you knew that part of the history, but you go ahead and covet and fetishize an American corporation that has been blatantly got in trouble and had to pay huge fines and got in trouble for racial discrimination. You go ahead, Kareem. You don't need to know that aspect of their history, I guess. Let's see. Stargate saying there's a huge black community in the Maritimes that goes back to the Underground Railroad. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, these are port cities where people were brought here unjustly, and some of them did stick around. And that's the legacy of Rocky Soulman Johnson and Dwayne The Rock Johnson's family, is what I'm saying right there. Yeah. Yeah. Banana Bread Tan saying, yeah, Alberta joining the U.S. would be low IQ for them, in my opinion. Yeah, it shouldn't even be a non-starter. It's stupid. It's the U.S. fucking with us. It's Russia's playbook on Ukraine. Everything that Russia does to Ukraine, they're trying to do to us from the U.S. through the U.S. That's like all the crazy mind fucks. The 51st state rhetoric is exactly that. Putin kept saying, we want to take over Ukraine. We want our rightful part. Well, Trump makes overtures because his teacher and the person who teaches him what to do is Putin. He said, well, you need to start gaslighting Canada right away and make it sound like you want to take them over. That's what we do to Ukraine. That's part of it. It's a psychological war games. And that's part of it. And Alberta is being used as the tool, as the entry door. And that's what people need to realize is smart, patriotic, real Canadians can see right through it. And it doesn't matter if they're conservative or liberal. They see it the right way. They're on the right side. And that's for our country staying sovereign, right? That's it right there. They have massive leverage as an independent country. Although as a proud Canadian, I would really be sad to see them separate. They won't separate. In some ways, they're going to try and do some bullshit. They're going to try and make it seem like there's a huge movement for this, but there isn't. In fact, they got in trouble for just stealing signatures from a voter roll and making it seem like they had a huge mandate because there was a lot of people on a petition saying they wanted to separate. But they saw right through it. They found out that they just basically took the voter rolls and made it look like it was a signature paper. So it's a small movement that's trying to make itself look bigger, like an animal beefs up real quick to look bigger against the prey. No, God willing, Canada will stay sovereign and true north, strong and free, with all of its provinces intact, without all this bullshit. But can you understand where this is where Trump's CIA, State Department, is trying to infiltrate the United States and fuck with us? If you can't see this and understand this, you think I'm a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, because this is absolutely true. And this is part of the reason why Carney says y'all aren't our friends anymore, and why we're pivoting to making more deals with people like Saab and other countries like Germany to make our military equipment where we would normally get the US to do it. Yeah, they're not our friend anymore. We shouldn't totally trust the United States in any kind of way. And that's why I say stop buying their goods. Start buying Canadian goods, or at least countries, other countries that we're cool with, like Ukraine. Bob the Snail is a fruit snack that you can get your kids. It's actually really, really healthy. It's like no sugars and preservatives or any unhealthy stuff. It's a very natural product that you could give your kids as a snack, and you can feel good about the nutrition. But this is a Ukrainian Ukrainian company. So if you're buying Bob Snail, you're actually supporting a company in Ukraine in the middle of a war. So there's another great reason why to buy it, is you can help the Ukrainians in this company in particular. But yeah, Bob Snail is great. It's no preservatives, no additives, very natural product with real fruit used. And it's a fantastic thing you can give your kids. There's straight goods on Canadian goods. Well, today it's a Ukrainian good. And we're talking about supporting things other than U.S. industry, a country that's actively trying to dismantle our country and separate us through a really weird campaign in Alberta. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about here today. That's how it is right there. That's right. Yeah, we won't see them separate, God willing, Banana Bread Tan. That's right. Mandini is the man. That's right. He's doing a fantastic job in New York. He's having real results. He's getting a lot done. And that's what happens when you have a real politician who's actually working for the people. You actually see shit get done. These politicians for so long have been spinning their wheels and not doing jack shit. So when you actually vote in a guy who actually does what he's saying, he's not lying, and he actually gets shit done, like school lunches for kids and trying to help with rent and doing all kinds of other stuff. It's really nice and refreshing to have a politician who actually does his job, right? Right? It's actually pretty good. You see saying JV hitting threes, getting all the rebounds and boxing out all the bigs, then I can see him having similar impact to Mark with the Raptors. Defensively, it won't be the same, but we got Scotty and Colin. You guys, we can't revisit our past. This is going to be a totally different team than 2019. We're going to go about it in a totally different way. And we have just as good a shot. And once again, I'll say this. The trend right now is younger cores are getting further in the playoffs than ever before. It used to be you had to have a certain balance of veterans and young talent on your team to get to the finals and win. But the Oklahoma City Thunder killed that a couple years ago. And with the Spurs making the finals this year, there's proven that young cores that don't have a lot of experience can go very far, because that Spurs team had never been in the playoffs until this year, and they went all the way to the finals. So the age bracket of our team, with the powerful experience and history of Kawhi Leonard, is very promising to go far in the playoffs, even if we have a younger age bracket. The 2019 Raptors were great for that time and that era and what it took to get to a championship. You still had the Warriors dynasty and active and doing things. You had Philadelphia with their squad and what they had. So, times change. And the league discarded a lot of veterans. So now, at this point, you can have a young, talented core with young guys that are mature for their ages, like Shed, that really get it and work hard right away. And they can go way further in the playoffs than they could before. In fact, they can come in for the first time and go all the way to the finals, just like the Spurs. So that's the big difference right here. That's the big difference right here, is what I would say about that. Banana Bread 10 saying, sorry to make it about politics. I don't want to ruin your vibe. It's all good. I mean, it's necessary. I don't shy away from it. I don't like to do it every day. But I feel like the whole thing about the Aspiration misrepresentations yesterday, and the things that are going on are a great example for us to show how this works in the sports world. Now apply it to the political world. Just apply how misinformation, phrasing in statements and headlines and clickbait, things that people say, reporters on TV, how they can gaslight or leave out important specific things and really highlight something that's not as important and make it the attention in the wrong place. Well, they're putting a lot of attention on us all of a sudden, right? Did we do anything wrong? No. So you can understand how this works. I love using the NBA as a world for an example for the real world with politics, because there's so much you can look at that happens in the NBA that can be applied to society. Whether it's the teams that are haves and have nots, where teams get doted on, they get all kinds of favor, and then other teams are discriminated against. That is a very simple, easy way to show the mechanics of discrimination to a person that may be not a person of color, that doesn't get it. Oh, damn, they screwed over the Raptors again in some sort of way. Yeah, this is maybe how a black person feels in a job interview sometimes. And you would never feel that because you don't have that happen to you. That's what I'm saying. These are good examples from another world to transfer them to the other place so you can see the mechanisms and how it works. That's what I'm saying right here. You know, this is really good, Banana Bread Tans, for sure. It's a nothing burger, the Alberta separation. I heard from my sister yesterday, Quebec is starting to rumble about separation again. Oy vey. I don't understand that. That went nowhere. And honestly, I'm pretty sure Quebec made safeguards against this after the last time. So there's probably nowhere that this goes. Once again, Brexit was horrible for the UK. They did something stupid and they've been paying for it economically. If people are smart, they can look around the world and see good examples of bad decisions. And you see your neighbor make a bad decision. Do you want to make the same bad decision yourself? So I would say that, I'm pretty sure there's good safeguards in that province in particular to stop anything like what happened before. So I wouldn't worry about this. In some ways, you're fear mongering, Banana Bread Tan, by saying, oh, I think that Quebec's going to do it too. I don't see that. Stargate saying this. No, Lex, the Underground Railroad has to do with black folks escaping slavery in the South, escaping the freedom of the North. Harriet Tubman was an integral part of it. I know this. I learned this in history class in the United States. I wonder if they'll teach this in history class in the next 3 years because of how they're changing things with how they want to whitewash history. No, I get that part. But I'm also saying, yeah, there's people that escaped from slavery up that way, but there's also initial people that came to that part of the country partly through trade, whether it was slave trade or they were just on a boat and the boat happened to dock in Halifax. That's what I meant. But yeah, you're right too. There's a lot of people that came up through the States, like Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, for sure. Banana Bread Tan saying, where do you buy Bob the Snail? Well, I buy mine at the grocery store that I go to, Vince's. Vince's got a couple of locations up here in central Ontario at different places, but you can find it at different places. Just if you see Bob the Snail, it's fantastic. It's good stuff. This is mango rolls. And, it's like a fruit roll up kind of, I open it up. There's a little package inside and you open it up and it's like a rolled up, right? It's a roll up. It's a little coil. And your kid can actually take the end of it and unfurl it and roll it out like it's a fruit roll up. Oh, this is fun, Dad. Look. Woo-wee! Oh, fun. Mango. So good. And you know what, son? That's good for you. It's real fruit. Bob the Snail. I think he's based on a cartoon too. I don't know. It's healthy for you. Yeah. Stargate saying the Maritimes in Canada is one of the places a lot of black slaves who escaped slavery settled. Yeah, that's the history we're trying to talk about here. And some people overlook and don't really recognize. Okay. All right, back to business. We're almost at 3 hours with the Lexathon we're doing here today. Let me just check if there's any breaking news. We'll do the birthdays in a second. Okay. All right. So Nate Biddle, breaking news, hour ago, has been signed to an Exhibit 10 deal for training camp invite. So that means he's not just going to be at Summer League. He's already invited to our training camp in the fall. This portends that he has a good in line to possibly get the two-way or a roster spot. So this is fantastic news. Josh Lewenberg reporting that just now. Also, Blake Murphy putting it up too. Let's see. Is there anything else here? Nope, I don't see anything about Kawhi right now. So we're good on that. All right. Happy birthday to Tiani Key. That's right. It is the rookie for the Tempo's birthday today. Tiani Key is, as of today, 23 years old. So happy birthday to former Kentucky Wildcat and current backup big for the Toronto Tempo, who will be appearing very prominently tonight, probably in Montreal with the injuries we have. Tiani Key. So look at this, Rook. You get to play in Montreal on your birthday. That's fantastic. How international. There you go. Also, we're going to say happy birthday to former Raptor and representative of USA this past weekend in the World Cup qualifiers, Orlando Robinson. That's right. Orlando Robinson was born in Las Vegas on this date 26 years ago. He's 26 years old today. And, well, he played for us a couple years ago for 1 year, 35 games for Orlando in a Raptors jersey. He started 8 games, and he averaged about 8 points per game and 6 rebounds. Those are good totals. I still am kind of pissed that we picked Colin Castleton over Orlando Robinson at that point. But yeah, happy birthday to O-Rob and Tiani Key. Those are our birthdays for today. Y'all check on your WNBA Fantasy League. There's lots of good action going on in there. Make sure you're keeping your teams up and doing well with that. That's for sure. All right, let's do the classic card. And we'll get done right around 3 hours. That's it right there. That's right. Kaloy saying Biddle Battle lineup going to hit different. There you go. Biddle Battle lineup. I like that. Yeah, that's kind of funny. That's a pretty funny little statement. All right, we'll do this card. We've had this player in the past. We're going to do this player again. So let's see. All right, full name answer on the classic card of the day. Do you know who this New Jersey net is? He looks kind of like Nikhil, but is not Nikhil. Is that Mark Eaton behind him? Some big Jazz player. No, it's not Mark Eaton. But yeah, do you guys know what this Nets player is? This famous Nets player from back in the day. You give me a guess, I'll give you a clue. Full name answers only accepted, please. Do not use just the last name or the first name. But who is this classic New Jersey net on the classic card today? Give me a guess and I'll give you a clue. That's right. Give me a guess and I'll give you a clue. That's right. Do you know who this man is? We'll get up real close on him. Tell who that is. You forget his first name. Okay, Slug Deezy's got it. It is Chris Morris. That's right. Slug Deezy, the king of classic card, got it. And we see that Stargate knew the last name, but he didn't know the first name. Chris Morris is the card, and I believe it's a 200-point card once again. So Slug Deezy's got a 2-day streak between yesterday and today. He's got Chris Morris today, and it will be 200 once again, Slug Deezy. I'll show you guys what the scores for the totals with the trivia are next week, maybe after the Tuesday stream. I'll show you what it is. Yeah, Chris Morris. That is the right answer. All right, let me just sprint through the preview stuff once again real quick. I hope that we elaborated on the aspiration stuff enough. The Raptors are not going to be held liable for anything that's a punishment towards the Clippers. If there's a problem with Kawhi, we may have some punishment indirectly because it's affecting Kawhi. But it's not likely that it'll really affect us. It's more likely Kawhi's going to have to give the money back, and he'll have to pay money himself. If there's a suspension of games, well, then that would affect us. But in some way, we've also figured out that it may actually be a blessing in disguise. So the Raptors are fine. Don't let anybody over-exaggerate or gaslight you to thinking that things are really messed up with what happened yesterday at the announcement. The Board of Governors meeting on Tuesday will be crucial and integral to the decision with the aspiration scandal. And I feel like we'll get a lot of the resolution for this whole thing then. So let's just have a good weekend, put it on the shelf and forget about it. It's the best way to do things in your life. If there's something that's left hanging and not totally tied up yet, you can't do anything about it then. Go find something else to get into and do otherwise. And then revisit it when the time is right, when things are decided. That is the best option right now. All right, tonight, the Tempo are going to try and break the record for attendance in the WNBA in Bell Center in Montreal. And Brittany Sykes is out. Kiki Rice is out. Niara Sabally is questionable. And Temi Fagbenle is on concussion protocol. and will not be playing tonight. But everybody else is available. And I'm going to guess Kayla Alexander will be available tonight wearing number 30 in the Tempo jersey. So we'll see possibly the debut of the second Canadian to ever play for the Tempo after Kia Nurse, Kayla Alexander, which is a dream come true for that lady. I'm telling you. On the other side of things, I don't see any injuries for the Dallas Wings. Everybody's healthy. So keys to the victory, keep Shepard off the boards and keep track of Fudd and Beckers. Don't let them just light up the game like they did on Sunday. You got to get out there and get a hand in their face and try and stop them from bombing threes. And definitely box out Jessica Shepard. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I don't know. Our chances tonight may be tough. There's a 45% chance in the ESPN matchup predictor that the Tempo will win. The crew for the refs are Timothy Green, number 9, is the crew chief. We're 1-0 with him so far. Tyler Merkovich is the referee, 27. We are 1-1 with him. And Kelly Broomfield is the umpire, number 25. We're 1-1 with her. So a 3-2 record overall with the referees tonight. The Tempo are not the only team playing tonight. The Raptors will play in Summer League at 9 p.m. in Vegas with Colin Murray-Boyles as the main player with Alan Graves. And they will be playing the Celtics with Hugo Gonzalez and Chris Sanak Jr. So that should be a great matchup at 9 p.m. Coach Ivo Simovic and the Raptors will take the court, and we'll see how many of the veteran Raptors will be sitting at courtside watching the game. Scotty Barnes will be there. I know that for sure. And we'll see the rest of them. Nate Biddle is a player I want y'all to key in and watch on tonight specifically. Also, CBL action tonight. I'll be watching Scarborough Shooting Stars play against Niagara River Lions in Niagara tonight. So, yeah, there you go. That's the Raptor Freak stream for today. We covered a lot. Hopefully, we cleared some air on not just basketball, NBA subjects, but also political media subjects. We have to have a more discerning brain, a little bit more critical thinking in society. AI and deep fakes and fake all kinds of shit is coming, and they're going to try and shape perceptions and reality for something that pertains to what they want. And we have to hold strong and true and fast to the things that we've known all our lives and haven't changed. It's just that they're going to try and make an illusion. Just be very aware of this phenomena. Seriously, this is getting so bad, and it's going to get worse and worse. And in some ways, the stuff that came out about the deal with the Clippers yesterday is a good example of this kind of bullshit. So understand it from that. It'll give you a good example of how you got to really be vigilant and watch what you're reading and hearing, because some of it is absolute trash and absolutely a nothing burger. We have to let them figure this all out. Bobby Webster, I have faith in you. I trust you. I know you're going to do your due diligence, and it's not bullshit. We're not going to get fleeced. We're not going to get screwed over. If we do, shame on the NBA for being an unjust league. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll be reacting to the Tempo game tonight and the Raptors Summer League. And we'll also be previewing another Summer League game for the Raptors against the Rockets tomorrow also. All right. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a long one, 3 hours. But watch me at 1.5 speed. If you're not watching me live, you can actually get through my show in 1.5 hours if it's 3 hours. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go Tempo, and let's break the record for most people at a WNBA game. And let's go Raptors. Let's get off on a good foot in the Summer League in Las Vegas with Colin Murray-Boyles and Coach Evo. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go.